Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto is placed under a genjutsu that makes him suffer his past as a child. Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. The enemy was escaping, and fast. I'm on a data boil. A 12-year-old blonde clothed in striking orange raced ahead of his teammates. Naruto's stop came through the headset's load enough to burst an eardrum. The next wasn't anywhere as loud but just as irritated. It said, "Dope. Hee hee. Just wait, I am gonna pull this mission of solo, then that old woman will see who she's messing with." The boy smirked, just managing to stop himself from hitting a tree. Phew, that was close. Naruto, fall back, it's too dangerous, Kakashi ordered. He just ignored the senior jonin and pressed forward. Target sighted, he grinned. Kagebushin no Jutsu. His signature technique, shadow clones, and lots of them. You're not gonna go anywhere, he shouted simultaneously with his doppelgangers. Stupid brat. The assassin hissed, drawing his katana and slicked through clone after clone. Gotta do better than that, Rasengan. The small ninja had a glowing chakra orb in his hand. That's one the Sannin technique, the swordman thought in shock. It was the last one he had before being thrown backward. Yada, I did it. Naruto pumped his fist, then made a victory sign. You stupid little monster. Oh. The swordsman lunged at him, slicing at the genin's stomach. Naruto had to sick his gut in and arch his body to miss the blow. Ha, too slow. Oh yeah? The man put his sword between his teeth and preformed a series of hand seals. He knows ninjutsu? I know genjutsu. Naruto shook his head, trying to clear it as his vision changed. The clearing they stood in seemed to have lost its color with the living darkness. He just flashed a grin. Yeah, right, like some illusion is going to stop me. Kid, you haven't got a clue, his older, more experienced opponent thought. Suddenly his blade began to crackle with chakra energy. Everything with his adversary seemed to get faster, and in turn his actions became slower. Naruto didn't even stand a chance as the blade slashed across his stomach. He screamed as the chakra burned his wound, then stopped with a horrified look on his face. The assassin just smiled, pulling his sword back and letting the boy fall. Kakashi was the first on the scene, followed by Sasuke and then Sakura bringing up the rear. It was just like Naruto to run headfirst into a dangerous situation and practically try to get himself killed. What they didn't expect was that it could actually happen. Not even Kakashi was prepared for the sight that met them, and even the emotional Sakura couldn't even scream. Sasuke, always cool and collect, had dilated eyes, a shocked look on his face as a cold chill went down his spine. Naruto, obviously still under a genjutsu, was still looking forward at his opponent, a blank look of horror on his face until even that receded. That wasn't what had the other ninja so shell-shocked though. It was the fact that Naruto had a sword almost up to the hilt through his forehead, right between his eyes. The swordman assassin removed his weapon and Naruto fell lifelessly to the ground. Finally Sakura screamed, "No!" dropping to the ground, tears rolling down her face. This snapped Sasuke out of his own stupor, and he was on the assassin in less than a second. "I'll kill you!" he roared, leaping into the air, throwing a large windmill shuriken. Surprised, the man only managed to dodge as his sword hand was nicked, and he lost his hold on his weapon. Sasuke roundhouse kicked him, sending him flying backward, his body cracking a tree. "Naruto, wake up! Wake up!" Sakura was over their fallen comrade while Sasuke's anger was beyond belief. Couldn't she see he was dead? No one could have survived that blow. His Sharingan activated as he stood over the murdering scumbag before him. He wasn't just going to kill this man, he was going to make him suffer for what he had done. The man just smirked up at him, throwing the Uchiha prodigy back. The man moved a few fingers and Sasuke felt his side get cut open. He yelled as the chakra blade burned his flesh, making it sizzle. Falling to the ground, he held his side, looking up at the killer looming over him. He was going to be next. Kakashi saw his moment and leapt behind the man, performing a series of hand seals. "Don't let your guard down," he said ominously in the man's ear, before slamming an open palm on the back of his head, finishing the seal. The man dropped like a rock. Sasuke snarled, still in a blind rage. Pulling a kunai from his pouch, he lunged at the fallen body, ready to stab it as many times as he could. When the kunai was knocked from his hand, he then settled for kicking the monster, before Kakashi pulled him back. "Let me go, I am going to kill him." "Calm down, Sasuke," he ordered, his words finally pulling through to the boy's mind, and his struggling stopped. Calm down after that. Kakashi-sensei. Sakura cried, and both of their heads turned back to her. She was still bent over Naruto, cradling his head on her lap. Sasuke couldn't understand why there was no blood. His heart almost stopped when he heard her say, "He's still breathing." Kakashi and Sasuke were next to her in a moment. It was true, the blonde ninja was heaving rage breaths out of his mouth, and he looked sickly pale. But there was no blood to be seen, other than the slash at his waist. Not even the young genin's Hittite had been scratched. There wasn't a wound on his face at all. How? Hissed Sasuke, his eyes wide as sweat dripped on his chin. "I don't know," she said through the tears, as Kakashi picked the fallen boy up. "We need to get him to Lady Tsunade. Sasuke, Sakura, take Naruto. I'll deal with him." He nodded toward their mission assignment, and handed Naruto over to both of them. His small form was light between his two teammates. Sakura calmed down. "All right." She scrunched up her face, wiping the tears. "Let's go." With that, they were gone in a blur, leaving the clearing was empty, as if nothing had ever happened. He was alone, hungry, hurting, and scared. With a whimper, Naruto pulled himself from the ally he had hid in. All he'd wanted was something to eat. Why did they have to throw things at him? Didn't he pay enough money? Sniffling, he rubbed his cold arms. It was raining and he wanted to get back to his home. The glares of the few that still lingered in the street followed him, and finally he couldn't take it anymore. What did I do? What did I do? His mind screamed as he ran, feeling he was at his breaking point. They hated him and he never understood why. What had he done that made everyone so mad? Why did they all reject him? He didn't know. All he knew was their hated glares. He splashed through the muddy street, glad for the pouring rain. It was all he had to hide his tears. Naruto was at the academy. He'd failed his first genin exam. He knew he was just a kid, barely 7 years old. Even Uchiha Sasuke didn't pass. But he'd wanted it so bad. Just wait, someday I'll show them all. I'll show them that I'm the strongest shinobi in the village, and then they'll have to look at me with respect. He glared back at some of the mothers and fathers who were boring their gaze into him. Finally he stuck his tongue out at them childishly, while really he felt a burning anger in his heart. I just can't believe he's still alive," Sakura said as the Hokage examined her most recent patient. When she'd seen the boy, her first thought was that the only damage was minor injuries and chakra exhaustion. She saw a cut across the front of his cloths, the dry blood turned brown, but by the time they had gotten back to the leaf, Kyubi had already healed the wound. It wasn't a lethal jutsu, or at least I don't think it was meant to be. But that sword went right through his head. Precisely. A normal sword would never have been able to handle that kind of attack, not as smoothly as you all described. It was a chakra blade, Sasuke said coldly. He was seated by the window in his usual stance, fingers steepled with his chin resting on them. His black eyes stared coldly out the window, as if he could turn the spring to winter. Yes, the Hokage looked puzzled, as she let the fact slip. She needed to lay off the sake during the day. "I want to meet this so-called assassin. Kakashi," she ordered, spinning to face the Jonin, her long hair snapping. "You're going to accompany me. Let's go." Sasuke stood with a humph, ready to follow. "And where do you think you're going?" Tsunade asked as he stepped after her. "What do you think? I'm coming too." "I'm sorry, Sasuke, but judging from Kakashi's report, you're in no stable condition. Be near this man." "I won't do anything, I just want to know what he did to the dobe." His voice was stone cold as he looked away. "I won't kill him." Tsunade sighed, and then turned to Kakashi, who shrugged. "Fine, but you are going to be silent the entire time. Make any wrong moves and I will throw you out." "Alright, Kosher, this is your chance to make things a little easier on yourself." The Hokage addressed the man behind the bars. He glared up at her with cold eyes, even worse than Sasuke's greatest Uchiha stare. "I didn't know the Hidden Leaf was so ready to bargain with criminals." Tsunade had to suck in a breath to keep her cool, and Sasuke wondered why she had worried so much about him lashing out. She hadn't been here 5 minutes, and it looked like she was ready to tear his head off. "This is about the boy you tried to murder, a small blonde genin." The kid, is he still alive?" He snickered and Tsunade's fist slammed into a bar, bending it in. "What jutsu did you use on him?" It's a mixture of Genjutsu and Ninjutsu. The little brat's stronger than I thought. If he's still breathing. Don't worry, he's not going to last long." Tsunade grabbed the man through the bars and pulled his face up to hers. "You are a wanted S-class criminal, Kosher. If you happen to die in the seal today, nobody is going to miss you. As opposed to tomorrow? The woman's hand glowed green with chakra, prepared to cut off his airways. Finally he spoke again. The jutsu I used on that kid will slowly eat at his mind. He will suffer the worst memories from his past. Eventually the victim of the technique will be in so much mental pain that they will lose the will to live. I'm sure you can guess what happens after that. Tsunade's eyes narrowed and she threw him back, sending him crashing into the wall. Have a soft spot for the brat, Hokage-sama? He drawled sickly. I got a glimpse of the suffering that boy has been through already. Looks like his life was a real hell. I'd be surprised if he's not dead by morning. You don't know Naruto, Tsunade said, her back turned to the man as they began to exit. Sasuke's eyes moved from the killer in the seal to her. That boy may have suffered in the past, but that has never stopped him from looking toward the future. He is stronger than your jutsu. You little brat. Stay away from me. Don't look at him. He's nothing but a monster. What did I do? Why don't you just die? Good riddance. Could you imagine if that thing became a shinobi? My parents said I couldn't play with you because you're a demon. Why? We don't want him here at the orphanage anymore, Hokage-sama. Send him somewhere else. I'm all alone. No one wants you because you're nothing but a burden, a cruel reminder of the past, a monster. One man had said. His voice was slurred, but he wasn't full-out drunk yet. He could have stopped himself from thrashing him, but they never did. I'm sorry, I am sorry. Sakura had her head bent over on her arms next to Naruto's bed. The Hokage was still gone with Kakashi and Sasuke, and she didn't want to leave him alone. When she heard a faint muttering, she looked up. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Naruto? She breathed, catching his hand, but his head just turned back and forth. She had never seen her teammate cry, and as the tears slipped down his usually bright smiling face, it unnerved her. You're fine, Naruto, you don't have to apologize, you didn't do anything wrong. Of course he had, by jumping in and almost getting himself killed. But even she couldn't lay into him when he was like this. Why do they all look at me? Who's looking at you, Naruto? Just wake up. What did I do? Did I do something bad? Is that why you hate me? No one hates you, your team cares about you. Please come back. Do you want to know the truth, Naruto? Shut up, Mizuki. You're the demon fox that came and attacked Konoha 12 years ago. Is it because I'm a demon? Sakura felt tears run down her face, although she wasn't making any noise. What was going on inside his head? Was this some repercussion of the jutsu Tsunade had been talking about? She was just about to call for a nurse, when the next words he said made her freeze. Is it because I'm the Kyuubi? Did I really do that? Did I really kill all those people? A small Naruto was sobbing in a dark corner of his mind. Was it really all my fault? The floor was wet here, almost as if his tears had become a sloshing mess in some kind of sewer. He felt so alone, so small and pathetic. Come, why are you crying? A guttural voice behind him said softly. I killed them, I am bad, everyone hates me. Something smooth and fluffy wrapped around the little boy's waist, and he turned. Staring at him from behind metal bars was an enormous fox. He cringed back. Who are you? I am called Kyuubi no Kitsune. But I thought I dash. You thought wrong, Kit. He pulled him past the bars and the boy was blanketed by 9 giant tails. The villagers are fools. You are no monster. I'm Dash Sniff. Not. No, you are much more than that, my little Kit. I'm your Kit. The fox brought the tiny being up to his blood-red eye. This is an order, little one, you are not allowed to die this day, or any other. The little mess of blonde hair bobbed as the child nodded his head, wiping his eyes. Oh, okay. I will help you back to your body, but the life you knew will soon be gone. Will they hate me? In time it will not matter, you will be stronger than all of them. The boy snuggled in closer to the great demon and gripped his fur. Thank you, Kyuubi-sama. Is it because I'm the Kyuubi? Sakura's hand stiffened at the door handle, and she turned around. What had he just said? Naruto, this isn't a joke, stop kidding around. She suddenly felt very hot, and her body was shaking. But the boy's state never changed. He just lay there trembling even more than she was. Not a moment later did he let out a piercing scream, and she had to hold her ears. "Somebody help, there's something wrong with him!" Sakura shouted as the doors burst open, revealing Tsunade, Kakashi, and Sasuke. What they saw on the hospital bed set them all stunned. Red chakra was pouring out of Naruto, twisting around him like the tails of some great beast. 9 tails, thought Sasuke and Sakura at about the same moment. Naruto wouldn't stop screaming and his back arched. His eyes snapped open to show nothing but red. Tsunade cursed, going across the room to try and steady him, her arms and hands getting burned by the demon's chakra as she tried to force the boy back down. Was the demon breaking free of the seal? Then, just as suddenly as it began, he stopped, falling back on the bed with a thud. The room went dead silent. I didn't do anything, Naruto mumbled into his pillow, tears streaming down his face. "I didn't hurt anyone, make them stop staring like that." "Sure, Naruto, everything is going to be all right." Tsunade brushed his hair back and he tensed a moment before his entire body loosened. He was at peace and a smile drew across his face. Tsunade had to bend down close to hear what he was mumbling now. "I'm your kid? Thank you, Kyubi-sama." Her heart stopped beating at that moment, and she knew Kakashi had caught it also. "Sasuke, Sakura, leave," she ordered. But Sasuke was the one to protest, and this time Kakashi stepped in. "That's an order from the Hokage, Sasuke." He bowed his head and scoffed when there was a slight tug on his wrist. Sakura was trying to make him leave. He pulled his hand away roughly, but she just grabbed it again. "Come on, Sasuke-kun." The way she said it, it even made him feel like he had to comply. Soon both genin were in the hall, and then out of the hospital altogether. Neither stopped until Sasuke grabbed the girl's arm and said, "What's going on, Sakura?" "I trust you heard it too, Kakashi?" Tsunade turned on the sensei with a serious look in her eyes. He nodded his head. Any sign of his usual easygoing disposition vanished. He was looking at Naruto with a new look in his eyes. It wasn't of hate but pity. "Do you suppose Kyubi is trying to help him?" Tsunade put a hand to her chin and bit her lip. "It's possible, but the way he referred to him. Naruto doesn't even give me that kind of respect." It was almost like listening to a child. One who was being comforted by a parent. Kakashi gave his smallest student a sidelong look. "What should I tell Sasuke and Sakura?" The Hokage shook her head, still deep in thought. "Whatever, you have to use your imagination, but I doubt that this secret is going to last long. Your genin are a little too smart for their own good." With that said, the Jonin had his eye smile back on, though it wasn't in full force. "I think you may be right about that, Hokage-sama. I'll handle Sasuke and Sakura." He left her and Naruto alone, and once again the older woman brushed the boy's hair back. What has he suffered, and is he suffering now? There was still that small innocent smile on his face. "He is stronger than your jutsu." "Yes, but is he stronger than Kyubi?" She didn't have an answer to that. All she could do is kiss the top of his forehead and wait. For what, she didn't know. "Yo, Lady Tsunade wanted me to inform you that Naruto is awake and healthy." Kakashi was standing just outside Sasuke's doorstep. It had been a week since Naruto had entered the hospital, and slowly but surely his state had improved. Sakura visited the dobe almost every day after her initial shock. Whenever Sasuke stopped by, there was always a new set of flowers by the bed. He'd sked and shrugged a shoulder like he didn't care. "That dobe's too stupid to know how to die." Kakashi just smiled at him. "I was going to stop at Sakura's and tell her the same. I figured we could all visit together." Sasuke just gave a grunt and followed him out the door. "Whatever." His sensei continued his stupid smile, forcing him to try and ignore it. As he did, his thoughts went back to a week ago, when he'd been dragged out of the hospital by Sakura. What's going on, Sakura? He had finally had enough, and Sakura's usual disposition of fawning over him wasn't what was doing it. In fact, most time if she had him alone, she would have driven him crazy with annoyance. Then he felt her hands shaking. "Sakura?" His eyebrows lowered. He hadn't seen her like this since Orochimaru in the Forest of Death. The look she gave him, he remembered a face like that once. It was the one on his face the day he came home to find his family slaughtered. "Sasuke," she bit her lip and then, taking in a deep breath, steadied herself. "It's Naruto." He instantly stiffened. If she knew something he wanted to know after seeing the chakra that poured out of their teammate's body, it just wasn't normal. He just scolded coldly. "Yeah, what about the dobe?" "Just listen for a minute, Sasuke." This took him completely off guard. It was actually enough to make the usually collected boy step back. Sakura shook her head, looking horrified at what she had done, and he stared up at him with glazed eyes. He said something really strange in his sleep. Spit it out, Sakura. He called himself QB, she blurted. That was the start of the longest conversation he'd ever had with Sakura. She told him everything that had happened in the absence of him, Kakashi, and the Hokage. It put Sasuke on a new edge, and made his skin crawl a bit. He told her that Naruto was probably delusional thanks to the jutsu put on him. He'd explained that part of the situation from what he'd learned in Kosher's seal. After that she seemed to force herself to agree with him. But neither genin could deny the ominous chakra that had filled the hospital room, and the shape it had taken was almost like seeing 9 thrashing tails. Sasuke had thought about it that night, and throughout the rest of the week, even during training. But there was no way an idiot like Naruto could possibly be a demon, even if the 4th Hokage hadn't killed the 9-tailed fox all those years ago. But that chakra. He'd sensed it one other time before, again during the Chunin exams in the Forest of Death. You're not scared, are you, fraidy cat? And what about how fast his wounds would always heal? It had taken Sasuke a week to recover from Haku's attack at Wave. Even Naruto had taken a few good hits. So why was it there never seemed to be a scratch on him? Whatever is going on, that chakra isn't normal. He was still musing when they stopped at Sakura's house. She was cheerful, almost back to her usual self. He could tell because her face would go red whenever she looked at him. He sighed. It had taken her a few days before she'd gotten up the nerve to even look at Naruto again. When she finally did go to the hospital room and began leaving the flowers, she told him why, though he pretended to care less. He may be different, and I may not understand it, but he's still Naruto, she'd said, her back to Sasuke as she looked down at the blonde boy on the bed. He's still our teammate. He just grunted his reply. She was right after all. This was Naruto they were talking about. He was nothing but a weak dead last. Yeah, a dead last who learned the Rasengan in little under a week. A small voice sounded in his head and his fist tightened. Yeah, he'd seen the technique. It was when they had their last fight on the hospital roof. He'd felt hot pride when he saw Naruto's Rasengan had barely dented the water tower, but after seeing behind it that had changed. He could still remember his thoughts clearly. I'm not going to be beaten by that dead last loser. There was no way Naruto had some secret power inside him, and he defiantly wasn't any kind of demon. In fact, he was all the opposites of what a monster was supposed to be. They'd entered the hospital now, and Kakashi pushed the door to Naruto's room open for them to enter. Sakura-chan. There was a rush of blonde and blue hospital robes, as Naruto latched onto the girl, grinning. Naruto. Bachan said you were worried about me the whole time. Sakura was blushing. For a moment her face filled with relief, only to be replaced by sudden irritation. You baka! She brought a fist down on his head and fended him off. Ah, what was that for? A vein was bulging in Sakura's head. What for? What for? It's rude to jump a lady like that, Uzumaki Naruto. And anyway, who said you could go off and pull a stupid stunt like almost getting yourself killed? She thundered above, cracking her knuckles and making him cringe back. Ah, but Sakura. Don't you but me, little. Someone cleared their throat, and the audience looked up to see Tsunade, hands on her hips with Shizen by her side. I admire how much you care for your friend, but he's still recovering, Sakura. Try not to beat him to a bloody pulp just yet. Sakura, still with her fist raised, sweat dropped, and bowed. As sorry, Hokage-sama. The woman just waved it off, and then motioned back to the bed. Naruto, sit. Ugh, my head hurts, Naruto pouted, rubbing his aching skull. She rolled her eyes at the boy's complaining as he sat back down. Let me see your head once again, she said, a glowing green chakra forming around her hand as she set it down on his messy hair. After a while Naruto twitched and moved back. I told you, Bachan, I'm fine. In fact, I've never felt better. He pumped a fist, then caught sight of Sasuke. Had the dobe even realized he was there? Ha, and I'm totally ready to run your face into the ground, Sasuke team. I feel like I could fight 20 assassins and pummel them. Sure, just like you did the last one, right? What did you say, Uchiha? Enough. Tsunade bristled and pushed the boy back down onto the bed. For now you need rest. And if I even hear about you sneaking out of this building to train, she got up close to his face, making him sweat. I'll show you what happens to Jiraiya when I catch him peeking into the woman's bathhouse. Naruto just saluted, his face stricken with nervous fear. Even Sasuke had to suppress a gulp. Not a problem, old lady, anyway. I told you I could take that assassin guy on by myself, he bragged. The other rolled their eyes while Kakashi said, Naruto, the idea is to stay awake and alive throughout your battles. Ah, come on, I just shook him up so he was easy for you and Sasuke to take care of. Sakura looked livid while Kakashi was complacent, as he flipped through his Ika Paradis. Sasuke felt like all the ridiculous demon talk was at a close. Naruto really was a complete idiot. He could only think baka. All the while listening to how Naruto knocked Kosher out with a Rasengan. You were lucky that any of you made it. If I had known it was Kosher the Red Hands, I would have never sent you on that mission. Tsunade said her back to them as she looked out over the village. It was sloppy paperwork. She couldn't help but doubt herself as Hokage. She'd hardly been in the position for a week and she was already making mistakes. Ah, it's no big deal, happens all the time. Naruto waved a hand. Remember when we had to fight Zabuza and Wave? I mean, things happen. Anyway, nobody's gonna kill me, not before I become Hokage. He rubbed his eyes sleepily and Tsunade motioned for the others to leave. I think we should let Naruto rest. He still has quite a bit of recovering to do. They nodded, and with a wave from both Sakura and Kakashi, along with a humph from Sasuke, they left. Naruto was already asleep on his pillow, deep into his own dreams. They were hunting him again. Felt himself slip on the pavement as one of the villagers, armed with a stick, went to strike him. Stay out of my shop, you thieving little demon! He remembered the painless nightmare. He'd lived it, but this time nothing happened. Naruto looked up to see a man clad in a long red kimono over him. He had the villager's arm in his grasp. For a moment he felt scared, then the man looked down at him. I promise, little kid, I won't let anyone harm you ever again. Naruto recognized the blood-red eyes of Kyuubi, and it was all he could do to nod his head, but the villager just kept coming. Why protect that little? He's nothing but a killer. A disgrace to the village. Kyuubi turned back to the man. He knew this was all in Naruto's mind, the repercussions of the jutsu still following him in his sleep. It airy how his subconscious already knew what the villagers would say. Kyuubi bared his fangs in a savage smile. You're wrong about that. Then with complete ease he snapped the man's arm back, tearing bone through flesh as his victim screamed. The boy had a strong imagination. Kyuubi just threw the man back and licked the blood on his hands. I, on the other hand, am. Naruto was shaking as he turned to him, and Kyuubi wondered if he had just broken him with fear. That's when there was a blur and something latched onto his arm. Kyuubi-sama. Naruto's tears mixed in with the man's blood as he gripped the Lord of Demons, as if for dear life. The small boy didn't know if he should thank him, or you can't do that, you can do that to the villagers. Kyuubi, easily prying the small hands from his arms, pushed Naruto back. He was sniffling and blood smooched his face and down his front. Do you feel pity for the ones who would kill you? Kyuubi asked. His voice was cold, but he didn't let his emotions show. He wanted to hear Naruto's answer. The little boy trembled. And no. He finally shouted out loud as if to tell the entire world, then he looked at Kyuubi, though giant tears. They'll hurt Kyuubi-sama, they'll hurt you. He stomped his little foot, fist balled and eyes closed as he tried to fan back the hugged drops of water falling from his eyes. I love Kyuubi-san. A hand still warm and wet touched his face, and the child smelled something, sweat and irony. Kyuubi was brushing his tears away. My son, you will never shed tears like this because of them ever again. He soothed and let the blonde wrap his arms around him. My little kid, I will make you strong and blood will spill before your eyes. If I'm your kid, that makes you my Otosan, right? His blue eyes met Kyuubi's with dreaded hope. He didn't want to believe. But somewhere in that look, Naruto knew the answer, and a small smile formed on his still crimson-streaked face. The 12-year-old Genin Uzumaki Naruto was gripping his covers tightly, his pillow stained wet, when suddenly all the tension left him. No one else in the world heard him as he mumbled in his sleep. If they had, they would have thought he was dreaming of a comforter he'd never had, and never would know. My Ota-san. Ikkyu Sasuke. Naruto charged at his opponent, kunai ready. Sasuke forced himself not to roll his eyes and just gave a smirk of confidence. You're too straightforward, dope, he said, blocking the cut that was aimed at him. Coming up behind Naruto, he kicked him in the back, sending him flying forward. Air dash. Naruto, didn't Lady Tsunade tell you to take it easy? You've only been out of the hospital for a week. Sakura barked from her seat on the ground. She was setting up lunch for her and her teammates, thinking a little picnic would make Naruto relax. She was wrong. You've got to be kidding me, Sakura-chan. I feel great. In fact, I've never felt this alive before. He then let me help take care of that for you. Sasuke went to roundhouse kick him and Naruto ducked down dodging. Hee to slow team. Well, see who's to slow, he growled, activating his Sharingan. For someone who had just gotten out of the hospital, Naruto was pretty fast on his feet. Naruto, fingers crossed in front of him, was about to do his signature jutsu when Sasuke hesitated. What the? Hey, don't let your guard down. Sasuke didn't even blink as the shadow clones were sent on him. But there was something wrong here. Naruto's chakra was spread out, but he was defiantly aware of the real one held down by two of the clones. He tried to figure out what it was he saw, when the real Naruto's fist came at his face and stopped. What's wrong with you, team? He barked irritably. Since when did Sasuke get jelly-legged in one of their fights? You're not even trying. Sasuke blinked. There they were again, 9 slashing tails of chakra only he could see. He kicked both clones, dispelling them. Naruto, thinking they were starting their round again, grinned like a fox. He pulled his arm back and instead of turning it into a fist, slashed at Sasuke's front. Are those claws? The look in Sasuke's eyes made Naruto pause for a moment. A second later he regretted it as Sasuke had him by the shirt collar, and was looking him in the eyes with his Sharingan. Quite suddenly Naruto felt anger. Not for Sasuke, but for those eyes he was looking at him with. Sudden killing intent radiated of him, and Sasuke dropped him on the ground. He snarled. Naruto! Sakura's annoyed voice was the one thing that broke him out of the sudden red haze of his thought. Both of you come eat! Coming, Sakura-chan. The killing intent was completely gone and forgotten now. Sasuke, who had dropped the Sharingan, was looking at him perplexedly. Hey Baka, you feeling alright? He asked. Now even Sakura looked at him funny as he said this. It wasn't like Sasuke to be concerned least of all about Naruto. Naruto shrugged, then grinned again. Don't mess with me, you're not getting out of the next fight so easily. Sasuke scoffed and sat down on the blanket Sakura had laid on the ground. Naruto, who was already there, looked ecstatic at the food. If he had a tail, Sasuke was sure it would be wagging vigorously. That made his thoughts go back to what he had just seen. That strange red chakra again, and that killing intent. It had almost made his spine freeze. Taking a bite out of a rice ball, he was still looking at his overactive teammate searchingly. As usual, he was cramming food into his mouth with inhuman vigor. Shish, you know you're going to choke if you keep eating that fast. Sakura commented, taking a delicate bite out of her own lunch. Try having some manners, like Sasuke-kun. Naruto just gulped down his large portion of food, looking at the dark-haired boy. If that means sitting there and heartily eating, I think I'll pass. What's up with you, Sasuke? You're acting weirder than usual. Sakura knocked Naruto in the head, and tears prickled at the corner of his eyes. Ouch. Don't talk to Sasuke like that, Baka. Humph. Sasuke shut his eyes and continued to eat his rice ball. It's not me who's acting weird though. Sure, you're being just as annoying as ever, but there's something off about you. He thought back to the fight and how instead of his usual fist combat, Naruto had tried to slash him with his fingers. Naruto, finishing off his second helping, was grinning. This whole lunch was made by Sakura. There was no way he was going to let Sasuke team get more than him. Everything tasted so vibrant too, maybe it was from all the hospital food. It was as if his tongue could place almost every ingredient. Naruto sniffed at some of his beef and rice and said, this smells a lot like the onions Ichiraka-san uses. Yeah, he'd recognize that smell anywhere, but he didn't see any of the onions in the meal. Really? Actually, he lent me some of the beef so I could make this. He said it was a treat for you getting out of the hospital. I didn't use any onion though, maybe they were nearby when the meat was in storage. Sakura tapped her chin thoughtfully. Naruto just shrugged a shoulder. She continued, I don't taste or really smell anything like that at all. It must be my awesome ninja senses to boil. He grinned, inhaling the food. When almost the entire picnic was gone, Naruto fell backward, hands behind his head, and sighed. That was almost too good. While Sakura was shyly asking Sasuke if he had liked the meal as well, Naruto felt his ear twitch as he heard something. Cocking his head, he rolled onto his stomach and looked to see what it was. It was a little chipmunk not 5 feet away, its cheeks bulging with nuts. Something in his mind clicked, and he felt like this would be a good game. Slow kick, you don't want to scare it away. The thought brushed his mind. Right, he had to be stealthy, prey couldn't be aware that you were hunting it. He crept forward and lunged. Grabbing the chipmunk, he laughed triumphantly, when a sharp pain came from his hand and he hissed. Dropping the little beast, he put his wounded hand to his mouth with a whine. The sound broke Sakura from questioning Sasuke, who barely even used 2 words other than, humph. It had sounded like a small animal crying for a moment. Sakura raised an eyebrow when she saw it was Naruto. With another whimper, Naruto began to lick the cut delicately with his tongue. Remember, a predator's prey will come with its own teeth sometimes. Yeah, Otosan, he mummed, pulling his hand away. It was already almost healed. Hey Naruto, what are you doing and what are you mumbling about over there? Sakura called, and he shook his head. What was he doing? There was pain in his right hand. Oh yeah, he tried to catch that fat little chipmunk. Then what? He'd said something. Naruto rubbed the back of his head, wondering what it was, when Sasuke slapped him upside the head. We're done, dope. Naruto snapped his head around and bared his teeth at him. Sasuke pulled his hand back, almost sure he was about to get bitten, when the blonde boy shook his head as if trying to clear it. Yeah? You should get some rest, Naruto. Straining your body like this so soon isn't good for you. Even Sakura was noticing something now, and he just nodded his head. Why yeah, I think I'll head back to my apartment. Thanks for the food, Sakura. He didn't use the usual suffix at the end of her name, but before she could ask him if something was wrong, he was gone. Something's up with him. Another surprise for her as Sasuke spoke, though she agreed. Maybe we should tell. She wasn't sure what to say next. Unlike her, Naruto didn't have a family or parents who she could mention this to. She remembered what Sasuke had said that day before the bell exam with Kakashi. Fighting with siblings, having your parents scold you. He looked at her with such cold hate. Having to be alone, you don't get anything, do you? Sasuke, what are you talking about? You're annoying. Again she wondered for a moment if Naruto, always so cheerful, was actually lonely. She looked down at her feet. Wait, there is one person though. Later that night there was a knock on Naruto's door. Hey Naruto, I'm coming in. Iruka called, before opening it and stepping into the light fading room. Naruto? There was no answer. He rubbed the back of his head uncertainly. Sakura had told him about Naruto's strange behavior earlier. She said she'd come to him because Naruto was always talking about how they would get ramen together, and how cool Iruka-sensei was. He chuckled at the thought. Naruto really was like a son or a little brother to him. He was glad Sakura had come to him when she thought her friend needed help. It was late evening now, and the sun had almost completely gone down outside. He'd been busy at the academy all day, so it had been a while before he could leave. He was thinking about taking Naruto out for their usual ramen again. Naruto, you home? He flicked the light switch. Instant ramen cups were littered everywhere along with laundry and half-read scrolls. I've really got to get him to clean this place. Iruka-sensei? Naruto's voice, it was from outside. Iruka followed it to find the small boy sitting on the roof, staring at the stars as night fell. I've been calling you for 5 minutes. Iruka tapped his hands on his hips. Sorry, sensei, guess I just zoned out for a bit. Naruto frowned, looking back over the city. It was a cool night, but the boy was hardly shivering. He seemed transfixed on something he couldn't see with his eyes. What are you doing out here? Oh, just thinking. Iruka sat down next to him, brow a bit furrowed. Sakura was right, something was up with him. Want to tell me what about? There was an uncomfortable shift in Naruto's posture. You'll just laugh at me. No, I won't. Iruka was patient. It came with the job of being a teacher, or at least he thought so. Though there were plenty of educators a lot more impatient than him. The third Hokage had called it a gift. Naruto was probably one of the only ones who could really get on his nerves. Maybe it was because they were so much alike. Naruto groaned and looked up at him. Well, I've been having these weird dreams lately. Iruka nodded and prepared himself, but as always Naruto surprised him. Iruka-sensei, what was it like to have a dad? The older Chunin stiffened. So that's what this was about. Why do you ask, Naruto? Looking a bit frustrated, the boy put his hands in front of him and bristled. I keep on going to sleep and seeing this man in my dreams. He calls me, well, it's weird, and I call him my Otosan. His face was a bit pink now, and he wasn't prepared for the arm that wrapped around his shoulders. That's completely normal, Naruto, his teacher said gently. Naruto thought it was weird because he felt his throat tighten up. Really? I used to have dreams like that all the time after. Naruto looked away from him again. Yeah, he knew. After the 9-tailed demon fox had killed his parents, the same demon fox that was sealed inside of him. What's this man look like, by the way, Naruto? Still embarrassed, Naruto swallowed down the tension in his throat. Well, he's really strong, I know that much, and he's got this crazy red hair and eyes. He waved his arms frantically. Irika's eyes widened and his former student took it as a sign he should continue. And he's always protecting me whenever I have nightmares about when the villagers beat me up. He grinned then looked out over the village again. But Irika saw his eyes instead of trailing the buildings, fell on the far-off forests. He promised that no one would ever hurt me again, and that I was going to be stronger than anybody. His voice was soft. He told me I would be free. For some reason Irika didn't know, this put an unsettling feeling in his stomach. The longing in Naruto's eyes actually hurt him. But he knew he wasn't anything compared to what a real father could be. Both him and Naruto were always busy, the boy on missions and Irika at the academy. Though they held a close relationship, it couldn't make up for 12 years of loneliness. He ruffled Naruto's hair, making him look up. Let's go get some ramen, you've got to be hungry. This made Naruto's blue eyes light up, and he pumped a fist, jumping to his feet. All right. I can smell Ichiraku's from here. He sniffed the air, mouth watering. Irika just laughed and followed him, hopping rooftops to get to Naruto's favorite restraint. Itadakimasu. Naruto clapped his hands together, digging into his 6th bowl of ramen. Irika's brow was twitching. His wallet couldn't take much more. Aren't you even a little bit full yet? No way, this is way too good. Hit me with another bowl, G-san. Holy cow, he's eating faster than Kakashi-san. Ha, I know you love your ramen, Naruto. You're our best customer. But tonight you might just eat us out of business. Ichiraku's sweat dropped some. The older man had noticed Irika counting the bills up in his mind. Naruto, horrified at the thought of his favorite ramen stand disappearing, stopped in mid-slurp. Yuff waffed if. Don't speak with your mouth full. Irika reprimanded in a disciplinary tone. The boy frowned and swallowed the last bit of ramen. You wouldn't. Easy now, Naruto, I was only joking. Ichiraku waved his hands in front of himself. Something told him that he shouldn't be trying the boy tonight. Naruto smiled in relief. Ah well, I'd better be getting home anyway, thanks for the meal, Sensei Ji-san. Naruto called back eagerly. Irika just waved at him. Now, about the bill, Irika-san. Oh yeah, Naruto struggled in his sleep that night, sweat forming on his brow. Something was clawing at his stomach, something that couldn't be satisfied, even by the abundant amount of ramen Irika-sensei had given him. Otosan, I'm hungry. He whined a bit, crossing his arms. His father looked down at him, and rolled his eyes a bit. You're awful greedy even for a kid. Didn't you get enough to eat earlier? No, ramen's good, but I feel like I need something else. He felt something behind him twitch. Kyubi smiled down at him, his teeth looking extra sharp. His kid flashed the same grin back, showing his own animal-like smile. I think it's time for your first hunt, kit. The next morning Naruto woke with a groan. His whole body felt stiff, and no wonder why. He was on the floor just beneath his window. God, what happened? He cried, looking down at himself. He was covered in dirt and smelled like river water. Raking some leaves out of his hair, he sat up. Is this someone's idea of a joke? He thought, picking himself up off the floor and stumbling to the bathroom. For some reason he still felt tired, like he had been up all night. Turning on the shower, he didn't even notice the red mixed with the muck and dirt swirling down the drain. Walking down the streets of Konoha to meet up with the rest of Team 7, Naruto noticed a familiar, newly appointed and lazy, Chunin. He was leaving the Yamanaka flower shop, an uneasy look on his face. Hey, Shikamaru? He called out to him, actually startling the boy. Wow, never seen that before. I wonder what's up with him. Hey, Naruto. What's up? You look like you're gonna be sick? Shikamaru tried to wave an impassive hand, but slightly failed when Ino showed up, still in her work apron. Haven't you heard, Naruto? Last night some wild animal mutilated 2 of the Nara's deer. Naruto cocked his head, raising a lip in disgust. Really? Ino, troublesome woman, yet it's true. My dad and I found it this morning. Shikamaru shook his head. Saying it was an animal is an understatement. What do you mean? The entire area looks like it was massacred. Trees were practically torn out. He shrugged, though he still felt loss. He didn't like to show it. He'd liked those 2 deer, and the way they had went, it was barbaric to say the least. We only found 1 carcass. Any idea what could have done it? Naruto questioned curiously. The Nara just shook his head. We're not sure. Like I said, it looks like an animal attack, but something's off about that. He looked up at the clouds, and after a while Naruto knew he'd lost him. Shikamaru may have been a genius, but more than half the time he seemed like nothing but a laid-back, cloud-watching bum. Naruto couldn't understand him in the slightest. Well, I guess I'll see you guys later then. He waved a hand before Ino stopped him. What happened to your hands, Naruto? Huh, what? Look down, Baka. He did, and was surprised to see his fingernails were still filthy even after the shower. Huh, must be from that prank. When he said this, both of the other young ninja looked at him confusedly. Somebody broke into my house last night, covered me completely in dirt. Just thinking about it sent him off on a small rant. Took me almost an hour to get all that gunk out of my hair. Ha, so somebody finally got you back, Uzumaki. Naruto just crossed his arms with a pout. Yeah right, my pranks are way better than that. Then shaking his head he remembered. We gotta go, I am gonna be late for training. Ga, if I don't hurry I'm going to be later, the Kakashi-sensei. Sighting both Sakura and Sasuke in the training field he sighed. Ha, I made it. You know, Naruto, it's not good manners to show up late. There was a hand on his shoulder, and Naruto jumped. Ah, sensei! He cried, swinging his fist around. Kakashi only just caught it in time. He actually winced in pain. Naruto grinned, he must be getting stronger if he could get a hit in on Kakashi. Maybe he should try enough. How is that any way to treat your mentor? Suddenly he was being raised from behind by the shirt collar. A swirl of leaves passed in front of them before he said this, landing them right in front of Sasuke and Sakura. Ah, let me down, Naruto clawed up at him. Kakashi just dropped him to the ground and he snarled, still on hands and knees. Baka. Sakura tapped him on the head. Wait. Sakura tapped him? Now she was holding her fist. Ouch, did your skull get thicker overnight? She asked, waving her injured hand back and forth, as if to shake the pain away. Sorry, Sakura-chan. Kakashi was watching his students with a cocked eyebrow. Naruto? He stared down at the young genin still on the ground. Yes, sensei? Kakashi helped him to his feet, and then took a look at his student's right hand. I smell blood on you. Huh! The boy as usual looked confused, while Kakashi seemed even more perplexed. You didn't go off and get yourself in trouble, did you? I smiled down at him, but on the inside Kakashi was very serious. For some reason Naruto reeked of old death, and he couldn't tell why. His blonde student just looked up at him like he was crazy, and pulled his hand away. Stop playing around, Kakashi-sensei. I got pranked last night and I showered. He explained what fate he'd awoken to that morning. Like Ino Sakura Mishin, someone actually got him back for all those pranks he'd used to pull. He just whined and said he heartily deserved it. Naruto sighed. Today's training felt a bit boring. They were supposed to find Kakashi, while staying out of sight then capture him. As if that was going to happen, even with the three of them combined he was still a jonin. Sakura wouldn't let him do a frontal attack either. Still, there was something about sneaking up behind your prey and taking them off guard. Sasuke glanced around from his branch. This is stupid. We should be learning jutsus, no playing hide and seek. But he couldn't argue, and now he was forced to play this stupid little game, not to mention having Sakura almost right next to him. I don't see Naruto, she muttered, squinting. Maybe the idiots learned to hide. They ducked as Kakashi turned her way but didn't seem to notice them. That's when an intense air was seen to fill the forest. Both of them froze on their perch and Kakashi didn't miss it either. Something in the trees moved in front of their sensei. If he hadn't been a ninja he wouldn't have even noticed. But even a civilian could feel the intensity of being hunted. This isn't Naruto, Sakura, or Sasuke, Kakashi thought, grabbing a kunai from his pouch. He'd heard a rumor about the Nara's clan's deer being killed in the night. They were near the complex. Did that mean the animal could still be out here? Movement to his left this time. Animal or genin, something told Kakashi that he had to find out what that thing was. If his team was still watching him, then he would have backup. He followed the movement deep into the trees. Easy, kid. Naruto felt his heart race as he stared past the bushes. He remembered this feeling, it made him feel alive. He'd taken his time to lure his prey away, now it was close to its end. Lure him in and then strike. He grinned, right? There it was, an opening. He took it and lunged. Naruto? Kakashi seemed surprised as he raised his kunai. Naruto dodged it, and went to slash at his stomach. Naruto! The second command snapped him out of it, and he shook his head. Huh! Duck! He didn't get the chance as his sensei tapped him on the back of the neck and he fell forward. "You're not fair, Kakashi-sensei," he cried as his limbs tingled from numbness. A ninja shouldn't fall for such simple tricks, Naruto. He just grumbled from his spot on the ground and two people landed next to him. "What did I tell you about barging in like that, Naruto? TSK, you're hopeless." Sakura rolled her eyes as she helped him to his feet. Sasuke on the other still remembered the threatening intent from before. "Sakura, stay," he stopped himself as they both looked at him strangely. He shook his head. "Never mind." "What happened to this place?" Sakura said, looking around, and Naruto finally sensed the stench of blood. They were in a clearing, but it was hardly natural. Whoa! Naruto walked over to a tree that looked like it had been ripped in half. Dried blood smeared its side. "I heard the Nara clan's deer were attacked last night. This must be some of the damage." Kakashi motioned and Naruto spun to look at him. But what in the heck could do something like this? He waved a hand and then stopped, freezing. He could smell it, he could smell where it was. Slowly he moved away from the other two and went deeper into the greenery of the forest. There it was, he found it. Pushing dirt back from the hollow of a tree, he inspected the area before falling back on his bum. "What is it?" Sakura asked, then gasped, covering her mouth as she tried not to get sick. Even Sasuke wrinkled his nose. "Guess we found one of the deer," Kakashi said in his usual bored tone. He noticed Naruto was still on the ground shaking. He put a hand on his shoulder. "All right, Naru." The savage look his student gave him when he spun around made him drop his hand. It passed in a moment as the boy stood and looked around the forest. Images flashed in his mind. He was in the foliage watching them as they grazed, the hunger still clawing at his stomach. "Go for the one with the limp." He nodded and did as he was told, sneaking up on the unknowing deer when another caught his scent. He had to move quickly, and in a swift move he brought the large animal down. "Behind you!" He turned to see a large deer snorting at him. For a moment he looked scared, but then his face changed to enthrallment. The deer charged and he did the same, moving to the left just in time to claw its belly. The buck screeched and kicked at him, slamming him to the earth. "Kit! Don't worry, Otosan," he growled, crouching down and jumping upward, latching his jaw onto the beast's jugular. It wasn't long before his prey gave out beneath him. He threw his head back, howling at his kill. When he had finally satisfied his craving, he shoved what was left of the deer in a makeshift den. He would come back later. Then, to get the sticky hot blood off of himself, he had played in the river. "Otosan." Naruto blinked as a hand was waved in his face. It was as if he just remembered something, but he was only getting fractions of a bigger picture. Still, what he saw he didn't like, and he raised his hands to his face. He saw blood on them. Hunt, blood, kill. The thrill burning inside of him. Naruto held his head with a moan and stumbled forward, passing out onto the earth. Kakashi brought Naruto to the Hokage, where she put him in a hospital room. After Sakura and Sasuke had gone, she turned to Kakashi. "Is there anything else I should know?" He nodded, glancing down at his student's peacefully asleep face. "I'm sure you must have noticed something too. We found the remains of the second Nara deer in the woods. The thing is, Naruto found it without even trying, and there's something else." His tone was grim. When he came to train today, the smell of death on him, it was overpowering. "How can that be?" She bit her thumb, looking concernedly down at the boy. "The smell was the exact same as where we found the deer." Her head shot up. "What are you insinuating, Kakashi?" He didn't flinch back at her thunderous tone. He just simply looked at her with that one eye star of his. "We have to consider that Naruto was involved in some way." The Hokage was giving him a fiery gaze. "Mama, Hokage-sama, don't look at me like that." He finally broke, waving his hands in front of himself. Tsunade dismissed him. Before he left, he turned in the doorframe. "By the way, I spoke with Irika earlier today. He seemed worried about Naruto, and some things he said to him last night." Tsunade sighed and motioned for him to continue with her eyes. "Supposedly Naruto's been having some interesting dreams of a man with red hair and eyes. He says that he's his Otosan." She stiffened. "Well, he's still just a kid. Not having a family can have been easy on him. It's no surprise he's fantasying of a parental figure." Kakashi nodded his head. "That's what I thought too." She raised an eyebrow, since he obviously had something more to say. Kakashi was the only one aware of his hesitance before he said the last word before he passed out was father. I won't let anyone hurt you anymore, my little child. Naruto smiled in his sleep. He felt small but embraced by something strong and warm. Even though it was unseen, it made him feel safe. Soon, kid, you are going to be free. He snuggled closer into the warmth of Kyuubi's tails and drifted into peaceful dreams. Dreams where there was no fear or hate. No eyes burning into him loathing his existence. He could play and explore in the fields and would still his heart was content. All thoughts of Konoha and its people disappearing. Tsunade, who hadn't left the boys since he'd come in, had fallen asleep in a nearby chair. She wasn't aware of the transformation her charge was going through during the night. Come on, Kakashi-sensei, Sasuke-kun. Sakura waved back at them as they neared the hospital. It surprised both of them at how eager she was. But then underneath all that, they knew she was genuinely worried. After meeting with them earlier that day, she'd hardly shown any interest in training. Instead, she would just fidget and look back into the village, as if waiting to see someone. Finally, Kakashi had commented that maybe they should go see Naruto, and she jumped at the chance. What a weird girl, Sasuke thought as he watched her, hands in his pockets. He smirked a bit but didn't let anyone see. She may be a bit of an airhead, but she's really caring too. Suddenly his smirk dropped, and he cringed. There was a sharp pain in his upper shoulder. He bit his lip, leaning against the wall. The curse mark had been acting up even more lately. It was needless to say his dreams were nowhere as comforting as Naruto. Hate me, Sasuke, live to kill me and get stronger. Itachi's voice rang through his mind and he gritted his teeth. Over and over again he had endured that nightmare, while having the whispering of that snake Orochimaru in the background. Hurry up, Sasuke-kun. Coming. He let go of his neck, speaking with his usual indifference. At least when Sakura spoke up, the pain began to ease. The girl had already knocked on the door and was pushing it open a crack. Naruto, we're coming in. There wasn't any sound and she smiled softly. The baka must still be asleep. But as she stepped inside, she saw no one on the bed. In fact, the place seemed completely desolate. Did I go to the wrong room? She glanced back at the door number. No, this is room 32. Did they move him? She was about to turn around and tell the others they should go ask Tsunade, when a small whimper came from right next to her. Stepping past the door, she moved it aside, to see a small figure huddled under a blanket. She could just make out some messy blonde hair escaping from the folds. The form was shaking. Naruto? She asked, crouching down, and going to pull the blanket back. Was he teasing her? She was startled when he flinched back. What's wrong, Sakura? Kakashi had entered the room with Sasuke and was looking down at the shaking bundle. I think it's Naruto, she said uncertainly. Sasuke stepped beside her, cocking an eyebrow. If it was Naruto, it was pretty pathetic. Hey, dope, he said, poking him with his foot. There was a hiss and the form dashed away, hiding under one of the small metal tables. As Sakura cut herself off. What was going on? Underneath the shadows of the table, she could see two deep blue eyes shine back at them. They were afraid. Kakashi called out to him, but the form just flinched back. Too big, get away from me. Wait, sensei, let me. Sakura moved past both men and bent down on her knees, holding a hand out. Come here, no one's going to hurt you. She half expected whoever it was to scoot back further, but then his nose poked out of the blackest as he sniffed the air. Cherry blossoms, he thought, remembering the familiar scent. She seems nice and pretty. Sakura could see a tiny fanged mouth following after the nose. He was sniffing her hand, the blanket and blonde hair still covering his eyes. She held back a gasp when she saw the familiar face marking on the figure's cheeks. Naruto? She breathed, barely audible to anyone else. She then took her other hand and pulled the blanket back. None were prepared for what they saw. Naruto curled up to his knees with a bushy orange foxtail around him. That wasn't all though. Two fluffy ears were poking out of his blonde hair and were bent downward against his head. His blue eyes, she bent forward to get a better look, they were slit. He brought his face closer, touching his nose to hers, and she fell backward. This startled the kid, and he panicked, going for the door. Sasuke, not missing a beat, grabbed him as he toppled medical equipment over, wrestling the boy to the ground. Naruto clawed at him, but the dark-haired boy forced his chakra to hold him down. Calm down, Dobe. Sasuke grunted, not sure he could keep this up much more. Kakashi, who'd immediately guarded the door, shut it quickly. That's when they heard the muffled crying. Sasuke, sitting up, pulled Naruto along with him and became stiff. And Naruto? The Dobe was crying, his blue eyes looking terrified up at Sasuke. Don't hurt me, don't hurt me. Sasuke put a hand on his head and he sniffed. He knew this sent cold no brisk like the forest in the morning. His ears began to lift a bit as he looked back into Sasuke's dark eyes. He made a small rumbling noise in his throat. This person's important, but why? He got up close to his face, his tears all but gone, and now he was looking at the boy with curiosity. Wait, I know. He pounced on the boy, sending him back to the ground. Ni-san, he tried to romp with him and get him to play, but the other boy just shoved him off. Guess he likes you now, Sasuke. Kakashi tilted his head with an eye smile. Sasuke, making his own irritated growling, fended the boy who called himself his rival off with a kick. Catching the blow but still being pushed backward, Naruto pouted. Why is brother so crabby? He sat back on his haunches and whined. Shut up, you dope, you're acting like a baby. Naruto tilted his head, cocking one of his ears. He just wanted to play. That's when the one with the silver hair bent down toward him. He hid backing away and bumped into Sakura, only to grip the bottom half of her dress. She was blushing profusely. This one he could smell lots of things from, like dogs big when he was an alpha, and he cringed back a little more. He smelled like a lot of kills, from many more hunts than he had ever been on. Ah, come on Naruto, don't you recognize your sensei? Kakashi asked in his usually cheerful voice. Naruto just shook his head, which surprised everyone. Can you understand what I'm saying, Naruto? Kakashi asked as gently as he could. The boy nodded his head, then spoke. Who are you? How do you know my name? Where's Otosan? His voice was small, nothing like the usual Naruto, who was always too loud and rambunctious. The room became very still before Sakura got his attention. Naruto, you don't have a father, she said as gently as she could, and he tore away from her. You're wrong, where is Otosan? Did you hurt him? He glared at the Jonin, the hair on his head standing like a dog's hackles. Easy now Naruto, nobody's hurt your Otosan. The boy sniffled, he was so confused. Why did he find himself trusting this large predator? He was obviously dangerous, but again there was something familiar about him too. Still, if anything had happened to his Otosan, it would be all Naruto's fault. At the back of his mind he could still remember the villagers who hated him. He slumped on the floor. Did his Otosan abandon him? I'm here, Kit. He looked up surprised and then grinned. Why didn't you say anything? He asked out loud. You were so scared it was hard to get through to you. Truth be told, Kyuubi was exhausted after exercising so much chakra. It had taken a lot out of him to change his kit. Naruto, who are you talking to? Sakura asked as the grin spread across his face. My Otosan. Somehow this didn't seem like a good answer. The next moment the door to the room opened and Tsunade stepped in. For a moment she looked from Naruto to Team 7, then back to Naruto. Ba-chan! He cried, jumping up and hugging her around the middle. Awkwardly she patted his head and turned to Kakashi. So I guess you found out. I knew I should have locked the door. Hokage-sama, what's going on? What happened to Naruto? Sakura blurted, watching Naruto's tail wag back and forth excitedly. And why does he like you so much? She sweat dropped as the boy snuggled into the older woman. Tsunade was blushing as she patted the top of Naruto's head. Well, that could take a lot of explaining. We've got time, Sasuke said coldly, his arms folded, and the Hokage cringed. Just great, this was the last thing she needed. Well, as you can see, this transformation seems to be caused from that jutsu. Sasuke's glare penetrated her, as he activated Sharingan without even thinking about it. Sakura was the first to speak up. It was in a quiet voice that was just barely heard. Does this have to do with the Kyuubi? Again the room turned chilled, until Naruto unlatched himself from the Hokage with a bright face. You know about Otosan? His tail thumped, and Tsunade sighed again. This was not looking good. Wait, Naruto, are you saying that the Kyuubi no Kitsune is your father? Kakashi didn't try to hide the inevitable, and Tsunade shot him a glaring look. Naruto just stared up at him happily, now forgetting his fears. Yeah, he said like an excited puppy. It was like watching a reverse version of Gaara of the Sand. A second later Naruto stopped, his bright face falling and his ears drooped. What's wrong? Tsunade asked, looking down at him. Otosan says you're not safe. He looked crestfallen. He says you'll hurt me. Naruto, don't listen to him. Kakashi raised a hand to stop Sakura, who was tearing up. What had happened to her friend? Yes, that was right. She viewed Naruto as more than just her teammate, but a precious friend as well. Now he seemed to be arguing with some invisible entity. But why? he muttered, looking back at Tsunade then over at Sasuke. But Obachan was there when his head cocked, and he looked past Kakashi and Sakura again, back at Sasuke. But what about Nissan? He said, then cringed. No, Otosan, before that I know he is, he said stubbornly. Suddenly a hand planted itself on Naruto's head. What are you babbling about, Dobe? Sasuke said, though he used his usual tone. He wasn't acting like himself. Naruto blinked his blue eyes up at him. Suddenly he felt dizzy. The fox boy fell into the other genin's arms. His head hurt. What were these images? Get the bells before noon. Alright, you and me right here right now. Sakura-chan. All I really want is to be accepted by you. You know, compared to the other two, you're kind of weird. Dobe. Team. Naruto held his head as he fell to his knees with a cry. Sasuke asked Sakura, he said, voice breaking as he tried to hold on to the images. I'm gonna be Hokage. My name's Uzumaki Naruto, the greatest ninja who ever lived. Kakashi-sensei? He shook his head back and forth. Obachan, what's happening to me? He yelled, afraid his memories would disappear again. He was on the floor now, holding himself up with his arms. Don't fight it, kid, it's better this way. Stop telling me what to do, Naruto said weakly. But it was that voice, the voice of the one who accepted him. The one who was there, had always been there. Please stop, Kyubi-sama. He still used the suffix. Do you really want all those memories to tie you down? Naruto, I'm giving you a chance at freedom. But I don't want to forget, please. As you wish, Kit. His head stopped hurting and he sat up shakily, his tail bristled and his ears back. Naruto? Kakashi spoke to him first, and he looked up at his comrades. Yes, they were his team, and he was Uzumaki Naruto, whose dream was to one day become Hokage. From the look in his eyes, Tsunade guessed what had happened. You remember everything now? He nodded his head, feeling sick. His eyes shot back and forth between his teammates, still very much like a frightened animal. They knew. Backing up, he raised his hands, but not defensively. Sakura, Sasuke, I can explain. He tried to sound confident, but it wasn't working very well. He shut his eyes and gulped when thin arms wrapped around him. Naruto! Sakura sobbed into his shoulder. He was back. Sakura-chan. He pulled her away, looking her in the face. Why, you're not afraid? Why would I be, Baka? She wiped her tears away, giving him a small punch on the head, which he heartily felt. And Sasuke? He looked over at his rival. What do you want? It was like a weight lifted off of his shoulders. They knew, but they weren't afraid. They didn't hate him. His face broke into a sad and relived smile. Looks like you needed to have a little more faith in your teammates, Kakashi pointed out while Naruto rubbed the back of his head. I guess. Thank goodness. Tsunade breathed but then looked serious. Looks like I have a lot of explaining to do. Take a seat, Sakura, Sasuke. This is going to take a while. After a long explanation of Kyuubi sealing and Naruto, and many more questions, Team 7 and the Hokage were finally silent. Well, until Sakura asked, so it was you who attacked the Nara's deer. By the look on Naruto's face, she instantly wished she hadn't said anything. He just bowed his head with a nod. Yeah, I can kind of remember it now. I remember I told Kyuubi I was hungry, but it was more than that. He looked off distantly. I wanted to hunt, and doing it was invigorating. He shook himself as they gave him some weird looks. Not that I liked it now. It was a bit of a lie, but they wouldn't be able to understand. Maybe if he put it up to a ninja who had successfully caught his mission target. Father had been really proud of him too. He shook his head. He had to stop thinking like that. You sure seemed to like Sasuke and Hokage-sama though, didn't you? Kakashi sounded like he was joking, but as always a ninja is looking underneath the underneath. He wanted Tsunade to explain the situation at hand a little more. As for that, maybe Naruto can explain. Tsunade waved a hand. Somehow she had magically gotten a hold of some sake, and was halfway through her second round. Naruto instantly blushed and muttered something. Tsunade, not quite drunk yet but getting there, snickered. Go ahead, kid, tell them what you said. It's not funny, Ba-chan. She just snorted into her drink, and Naruto had to continue. It's hazy, but I remember when I woke up I didn't know where I was. I was looking around for something. He was turning beet red now. The first thing I saw was Tsunade Ba-chan and I woke her up. Go on, Naruto, The older woman had no shame, though she would probably regret this after her hangover. I called her, he mumbled something. What was that? Sakura perked up, trying to hear. Somehow this seemed to be getting good, even Sasuke was listening intently. I called her Mama. There was a simultaneous sweet drop between the entire room, and then giggling broke out. It's not funny, Sakura-chan, Kakashi-sensei. Well, I wish I could have been there. Sakura was holding her side. What on earth would possess you to call her that? She was looking at the Hokage now. Judging by the dilated look in the older woman's eyes, she was nowhere near a motherly figure. It surprised her when the Hokage could still speak clearly. I have a theory on that. Naruto groaned. This was probably going to be painful. For him at least. It seems that after your changes, she eyed the boy up and down for lack of a better word. Your mind reverted to one close to a small animal's, perhaps an infant. Therefore, when the first thing he saw was me, he felt that aromatic bond most other animals do. A baby, how's that? He could still talk. Sakura, understanding half, was still confused. Tsunade just shrugged, perhaps because Naruto has already been exposed to long and human interaction for 12 years. Naruto was thinking about it, and found she might be right. He didn't want to be thought of as a little baby, but when he had woke up it was as if he'd been born again. Everything was different, new, more enhanced. Even now he could smell the strong scent of disinfectant, medicines, and his own teammates. Cocking an ear, he could hear the sounds of people outside the room clearly if he wanted to. The others were still conversing on their prior question. There's something else too, he said, breaking from his thoughts and getting all their attention. His ears droop a bit. It's weird having ears that move around. When I forget, like after the hunt, and now at first it felt like only a small part of me was going through all that. He tried to explain, even though he wasn't sure he understood it himself. Whenever I dream, while I'm always a kid, like back when I was little. He wasn't looking at them now. The last thing he wanted was to bring up his past. A side effect of the Genjutsu. Tsunade nodded. Why yeah, I felt so small, then all I could remember was the villagers' hate. Kyubi-san was the only one to protect me. He took care of me. His tail and hair bristled at what he was saying, then he went back to the point. It was like that mind was with me when I hunted those deer, and just now. It was like I was a kid again. He rubbed the back of his head. Course, I think Kyubi's instincts helped a lot when that big male deer attacked. I didn't feel like a child at all. Then he shivered, remembering the hot blood. I'm not even sure Kyubi-san was aware of it at the time. We seem to have some kind of bond linking us now for some reason. He kind of liked the sound of that. A strong bond with someone else. Maybe even stronger than his rivalry with Sasuke. Tsunade had a finger to her chin. So what you're trying to say is that you seem to have two different mindsets. Your normal one, and then this younger one that's connected to Kyubi. He tried to nod, but he wasn't sure anymore. But we're the same, those mindsets, they're both me, and I don't think they're going to stay apart from each other anymore. You can't let that happen. Sakura burst out, suddenly furious and making them all jump. It's a trick being played on you by Kyubi. He's only trying to use you. She didn't know how deep her words cut him. He himself didn't completely understand the sudden pain, which came to his chest. She was probably right. Naruto put a hand on Sakura's shoulder and pulled out his signature smile. Over the years he'd been able to use it, even in the greatest times of sadness. It was one of the few lies he was capable of pulling off at all. Don't worry, Sakura-chan. I'll be fine anyway. Nothing is going to stop me from being Hokage. Not even Kyubi. He noticed there were a bit of tears in her eyes, and was glad when she was able to wipe them away. He hated seeing Sakura cry. For a moment he leaned forward and rubbed his cheek against hers, a rumbling emitting from his throat. A second later he felt the shock at what he had done, and pulled away from her. Both of their faces were red. Sorry, Sakura-chan. Again his ears tilted down. What was he doing? Sakura was still blushing. She'd wanted to reprimand him for getting so close, and along with that letting Kyubi's fox instincts control him. She raised her hand. Naruto shut his eyes, fully intending to take the hit this time. He was so embarrassed by what he had done, she deserved to hit him. It was a surprise when the weight on his head just bounced up and down lightly. It seemed with those new fluffy fox ears and that tail, Naruto had gained a adorableness even Sakura couldn't fight off. Naruto, I don't like seeing your ears droop like that. They're much cuter standing up. This made him perk up a bit. Did Sakura-chan just call me cute? A moment ago he was hurt and embarrassed. Now with those words from his longtime crush he was swooning. Of course Naruto has a different way of doing that than most people. He hugged her tight, tail wagging happily. Thanks, Sakura-chan. She blushed again and pushed him off. Naruto stayed ecstatic as ever. So what now? I am hungry, can we go out for some ramen? You can't go anywhere looking like that, dough. Sasuke spoke up. He was getting bored with the whole thing. They need to get the baka back to normal. Is there anything you can do, Tsunade-sama? Kakashi looked to the Hokage. She was biting a thumb in thought. We're going to have to run some tests. Obviously something has changed with the seal. I may need to get in contact with Jiraiya. In the meantime, Naruto, you are not to leave the hospital, don't let anyone see you either. Ah, come on, Oba-chan. No. You act like I can't hide anything. Look, I can still use henge. He gathered chakra and there was a poof. Naruto, complete without fox ears and a tail, stood in their midst. He raised a hand in a thumbs up. I could even still go on missions. Unacceptable, Naruto. This time Tsunade thundered, sending even those in the hall reeling. She lowered her voice. We don't understand how this change has affected your chakra system. Before you go anywhere, I need to do some serious exams on your body. The henge broke and he pouted, folding his arms. This sucks. The Hokage just rolled her eyes. I'll see to it that Shizen brings you some food to eat. I trust everyone understands the knowledge of this situation is to be kept secret. The other ninja nodded. Good, as of now Team 7, Shizen, and myself, are the only ones to know of Naruto's condition. Jiraiya too if I can find him. If Ero-sennin is coming, then maybe I will get to train. Naruto thought slyly. He's always trying to tap into the fox's power. I'm practically half fox now, it should be easy. Tsunade noticed his sneaky smile. Don't get any ideas, kid, this is serious. I'm not letting you and that old pervert try something stupid. It was bad enough when I found out about him throwing you into a canyon to summon Gamabunta. There was a small pulse in her forehead at the thrashing she still owed Jiraiya for that. What kind of idiot throws a 12-year-old off a cliff? Naruto, still sulking, agreed, while mentally crossing his fingers. As of now you are all dismissed. Not you, Naruto, stay. I'll be back in a little bit with some equipment. The Hokage exited the room. Naruto stuck his tongue out after her. Nev can't tell me what to do. Yes, I can, came a booming reply past the door. It was amazing since the Hokage was already halfway across the hall. Naruto fell backward onto his tail with a cry, while the rest in the room's sweet dropped. 3 days later. Naruto-kun, get back here before Tsunade kills me. Shizen was racing after the hyperactive blonde that was peeling down the hallway. He just shot a grin back at her. Just cover me, Shizen-ne. I'll be back in no time. Shizen's cries of frustrating could be heard all the way down the long hall, as the patient she was supposed to be bring food to fled. She didn't even stand a chance at the newfound speed he'd gained, and now she had to hide this from Tsunade. Her one thought was this: I'm going to die. She's gonna kill me. It was Sakura who saw Naruto first as he wandered the street, and it took her a moment to register this as bad. A second later she was at his side and yanking his now humanly transformed ear. What are you doing out of the hospital? She barked. Sakura-chan, that hurts. Answer the question, Baka. I can't breathe in there. Have you smelled some of the stuff they used to clean the place? He wrinkled his nose as she let him go. Plus it's so nice out today, and he sniffed at the air, and there was the unmistakable sound of a stomach rumbling. He gave a foxy grin. I'm hungry, let's get some ramen. Not a chance. We need to get you back before. Please, Sakura-chan, I am dying here. I think Tsunade is trying to poison me with that hospital food and she keep feeding me fruits and vegetables. He stuck a tongue out sickly. Even that pet pig of hers is starting to look edible. Oh, if Sakura had known how true that statement was, she'd probably beat him to a bloody pulp. As it was, this did make her a bit nervous. She flicked him on the side of the head irritably with a finger. Fine, ramen, then you get your butt back to the hospital. It was an order, not a request, and Naruto figured he should take it while it was still good. Come on then, Sakura-chan. He grabbed her hand, pulling her forward. Naruto was leading her through the crowded streets, and there were cries of protest as they bumped into people. They were at the ramen stand in no time, and Naruto ordered for both of them. Hey, I thought that you were supposed to be in the hospital, Ichiraka said as he placed a steaming bowl in front of his best customer. Naruto just answered with a grin, nothing keeps me from my ramen, Ji-san. The older man just laughed and continued about his work. Naruto slurped up his noodles while Sakura delicately nibbled at her own. The Kitsune boy was just about to tuck into his second helping when a voice caught his ear. It seemed his heightened senses were still working even through the transformation. I don't care what they say about that clan. I know what you mean, but the Uchiha were truly great. truly great. One of them slaughtered his entire. There's rumors that it was an Uchiha behind the Kyuubi attack all those years ago. If that's the case, then what were they thinking putting the fox brat on his team? Maybe the Hokage wants the village to go to hell. I think that you should keep your mouth shut. There was a blood-curdling silence as Naruto held a kunai to the gossiping shinobi's neck. He moved faster than I could see, and for those who didn't blink they might have seen a gold blur. He looked absolutely cold at the three who were talking. All ninja either chunin or jonin level, and he really didn't care. Little. I suggest you shut up or I'll slit your throat right here. Yujiro Tanki. That snapped him out of it, and he blinked. Sasuke had entered the scene and was looking coldly at all of them. Naruto, seeing his hand still pressing the kunai to the man's neck, began to shake a bit, and he backed away. What am I doing? There was a muttered insult just barely loud enough for Sasuke to hear, and Naruto to get quite clearly. Look, he's already controlling the beast as it is. Naruto's eyes flashed, and he spun, this time ignoring his kunai and ready to sink his claws into the man. No one insulted someone of his family, especially not his brother Sasuke. I told you to shut up, or do I have to warn you again? He snarled violently, sending off a killing intent in the middle of the street. There was a grip on his shoulder, and he looked up. Sasuke was glaring ahead of him at the higher-level ninja. Drop it, Naruto. Naruto just growled further, and Sasuke's grip tightened. But before he could force Naruto to move away, the boy was speaking to the other ninja again. Hey, listen up, you jerk. Sasuke is my best friend and brother. You ever talk badly about or touch one of my family, and I'll kill you. He was just about ready to drop the henge now, and show these guys who they were dealing with. His mind was hot with the influence of a demon, and Fox Pup wanting to protect his pack brother. There was something gripping his hand, and his head shot to the left. It was Sakura, and she was looking down at her feet. Come on, Naruto. The intense arrow around him stopped in defeat. He glanced over at the ramen stand and the people staring at them. He expected it from the villagers. But even old man Ichiraka was looking at him with a bit of fear, though it was also filled with concern. Hey, I don't know what you men are saying over there, but insulting my customers or their friends isn't something I need around my stand. The ramen chief finally addressed the three older shinobi. They sneered but didn't say anything and turned to leave. Naruto trembled, and both Sakura and Sasuke had to keep a grip on him to hold him back. Naruto, calm down. You're letting the fox take control, Sakura whispered. A moment later his body loosened, and he nodded his head. I think I need to go back to the hospital, Sakura-chan. She agreed, and both genin began to lead Naruto away. Thanks for sticking up for me, old man. Sorry for making a scene in front of your stand. Naruto was about to fish money out of his pocket, when the old cook just shook his head. Don't worry about it, it's on the house. Get better soon, alright. Whatever medication they have you on at that hospital is putting you on edge. Naruto forced a small laugh and let his friends lead him away. Oh, Sasuke, I didn't know you were here too. Sakura was just coming to the hospital, and saw the boy leaning against the wall, his arms folded. He just gave a humph. If it was anyone else, Sakura would have rolled her eyes at them, but since it was Sasuke, she merely blushed even darker. I'm bringing some lunch to Naruto, want to come? Ever since their last incident at Ichiraka, she'd been trying to bring her teammates something more edible to eat. Tsunade hadn't been happy when she found out, and Sakura didn't want a repeat of either experience again. Whatever. This must have meant yes, in Sasuke long because he followed after her. Sakura meanwhile was berating herself for not making a second lunch. Wouldn't that be great? Sasuke eating her homemade meal, it would be like they were married. If it was possible, her blush became even deeper, and the only thing that kept her from giggling out loud was her inner self yelling, "Cha, take that, Ino pig." You going in or what? Sasuke broke her out of her thoughts. She'd been standing outside Naruto's hospital door for a little too long. Yeah, she said with quick cheer and began to turn the knob. Hey Naruto, we're coming in. There was no reply, which worried her a bit. Usually there was always a cry of, Sakura-chan, or tell Sasuke team to stay out. The silence gave her a shiver. Could he have gone back to that fox mind he'd been talking about? Seeing Naruto cower in a corner from her was something she feared each visit. Luckily so far Naruto had been himself, if not a little odd. Whenever she thought he was acting like a fox, she would smack him over the head. Not too hard, those fox ears were pretty cute. Sakura cracked the door open and peeked in, then with a look of shock she threw the door open. What is it? After seeing Sakura throw the door open, Sasuke knew something was wrong. It wasn't long before he found out what. That idiot! He growled, seeing the open window, the curtains flittering in the breeze. We have to find him. What if someone sees him, or worse? What if he's under Kyuubi's influence again? Sakura tried to keep her voice as low as she could. Not long ago Naruto had been moved from the main part of the hospital to somewhere more private. Still, she didn't want to take the chance of someone hearing her. Come on, the dobe's not smart enough to get far. Sasuke grunted, jumping up onto the window frame and then outside. Sakura quickly followed after. Naruto, you idiot, if something happens to you I'll kill you, the kunoichi thought, clenching a fist as they passed over the buildings of Konoha. Earlier that day, it had been almost 2 weeks. Naruto's tail twitched as he glared out the window. It was a bright day outside and looked perfect for training. He was really annoyed with Tsunade for keeping cooped up like this. It was driving him crazy. Don't like being locked up, kid? Yeah, I hate it. Normally Naruto would have countered with something like shut up, stupid fox. He never really meant it though, and he was pretty sure Kyuubi knew it too. Naruto had tried to stop talking to the demon altogether, but that had proved next to futile. Though Kyuubi gave him his space, after a while he could tell the connection between them had strengthened. It was hard to admit this though, because he knew how worried Sakura was about him. The others were as well, and would always remind Naruto to be careful not to let Kyuubi take control of him. But it was Sakura that made it hardest for him. He hated the look of fear in her eyes. Not of the demon itself, but of losing Naruto. It had surprised him how much she cared. He'd never had a friendship like that before. Along with being so infatuated with her, he would do anything he had to keep her happy. If the demon ever spoke in her presence, he would either do his best to keep quiet or snap back at him. But Sakura hadn't come yet today, and he was bored and lonely. Tsunade hadn't been around to do any more tests since yesterday, and Kakashi-sensei didn't even stop by. God forbid Sasuke see him. The guy was already making remarks about his appearance. He humphed. What was wrong with his tail and ears anyway? They were soft, and he kept them clean. In fact, after a while even his blonde hair had become as shiny and soft as his fox fur. He flicked his tail slightly and then, in a move faster than any genin, he opened the window to the outside. Creatures like us aren't meant to be imprisoned. Creatures like us? Naruto shook his head. No, I am nothing like you. I'm human, not a demon or a fox. There was a great sigh in the back of his mind, before the beast spoke again. You are as much my son as your human father, Kit. You should know you are not the only host who's had to carry me. Your mother bore the burden as well. And my mother? Naruto stuttered, then thought. You knew her? You knew my mom? She was my prison for more than 20 years. What was she like? Naruto wondered if the fox was angry as he heard a deep rumbling. Instead, he just spoke matter-of-factly. She was very much like you, though you took on the features of that accursed father of yours. This time he really did show anger, and Naruto felt it heat in his gut. Stop that. Sorry, Kit, sometimes I forget how connected we are. Well, don't, and we're not. TSK, weren't you listening to what I was saying, boy? I was sealed inside of your mother's navel for many years. Since your creation to your birth, I have always been with you. You and I share something stronger than blood or chakra. Naruto gritted his teeth. Kyuubi wasn't lying to him, he could tell that much. Kyuubi-san, what was my mother's name? The great fox was silent for a moment before he spoke again. Uzumaki Kushina. So I have my mom's last name? Why? This time Kyuubi didn't answer, and no matter how many times Naruto asked, he wouldn't respond. It'll be that way. Probably lying anyway. The boy grumbled just as an exceptionally sweet breeze passed the window. He sniffed at the air, then took in a deep breath with a sigh. It smelled so good out there, he had to get out of this place. Naruto jumped on the windowsill and then to a nearby roof. He'd be back, but there was no way he could take that little hospital room anymore. He needed to stretch his legs. To have his freedom. He was so preoccupied with the vigor the outside gave him, he didn't even notice Kyuubi's soft words. Soon, Kit, soon. Naruto, Sakura called fruitlessly. She and Sasuke had split up, with her going to check the ramen stand, and him Naruto's apartment. So far no luck, and Naruto hadn't left a trail to where he'd gone. They had no idea where to look next. Where could that baka have run off to? Of course Sasuke didn't answer. Even if he wanted to, he didn't get the chance. Nay Sakura, what's going on? Why don't scare me like that, sensei? The girl spun around to face the Jonin, and he waved his hands. Whoa Sakura, I was just wondering what you two were doing. After her initial shock, Sakura burst. Naruto's not at the hospital. Did Tsunade move him? We found the window wide open, Sasuke said in an obvious tone. That was all Kakashi needed to know. He sighed. Right then, come on, we better find him. We've looked everywhere we can think. His home, Ichiraka's. How about the training grounds? He wouldn't have gone off just to trace. Sakura stopped, and Kakashi smiled. If anyone could be that brawn-headed, it was Uzumaki Naruto. A throbbing pulse mark showed up on her head, and she spoke with shaky calmness. I'm gonna kill him. That might not be necessary if someone else finds him first. Let's go. Kakashi motioned, and they followed after him. Naruto breathed in the fresh air from the ground. He was laying in the shade of a tree after a bit of hard training. He loved it out here. Being inside was miserable. He had to get the old lady to let him out. After being outside again, he knew he wouldn't survive if he was trapped in there again. You know they'll be looking for you. He let him try. Nobody's gonna catch me. He grinned, not bothering to ignore the fox demon. It was more fun to have someone to talk to. Fluttering overhead, Naruto noticed a red butterfly glide just above his nose. For some reason it was so pretty he just had to play with it. Sitting up, he followed after the shimmering bug, not noticing he was using both his hands and feet to do so. What are you doing, Kit? Just a game. He could feel Kyubi raise his eyebrow but ignored it. This was his hunt, he didn't want any distractions. With a soft growl, he crouched down and narrowed his eyes playfully. Just a little bit further, he leapt forward. He groped for the creature and almost had it, before he caught his foot on an uplifted tree root. He tumbled forward. There was a deep rumbling from inside his mind as Kyubi laughed. Indignantly, Naruto sat up again. No way a bug was going to get the better of him. Just you watch, I'll get it this time. Once again he crept up on the insect. Now I'm gonna get ya. He sprang, but before he could catch the little creature, something whizzed past his ear, scaring it away. Disappointed, his sharp ears picked up the sound of a kunai sinking into tree bark. He looked up at the one who had thrown it. Sasuke glared at him. Kakashi, Sakura and him had broken up at the train grounds so they could cover more area. This was the one he volunteered to look through. Jerk, that was my game. Naruto growled, pouncing on Sasuke and wrestling him to the ground. The boy just kicked him off. Dobe, it was a butterfly, grow up. Stupid teen, it was mine. At this point Sasuke was pretty sure something wasn't right. Naruto glared up at him with sharp, slit blue eyes. Stupid human. What did you say? I'm not going back to that hospital. You can't make me, the blonde said with another low growl, and dashed with inhuman speed into the woods. Naruto! Sasuke shouted, but he was already gone. That idiot, was he letting the Ninetales control him? Naruto's head felt a bit fuzzy as he ran away from Sasuke. Why had he said that? Part of him knew he was being ridiculed, the other, a more untamable side, just kept running. Humans were nothing but trouble and he didn't want any of it. I don't want to go back. Both sides spoke in unison. It was strange because now that he thought about it, why was he splitting them into two different entities? They were both him, the one that everyone knew, and the other something that had been hidden away. Like it had always been there, he just never had the chance to use it. Well, I'm tired of it. He growled and launched himself over a log. Finding a good place to hide, he stopped in some bushes. After a bit of panting, he began to think less like a fox and more like a boy. I really should go back before Oba-chan gets mad, though. He sat on his bum, hands placed in front of him like an animal. Starting to feel a bit chained up. Are you the one doing this to me? You should know the answer to that by now, Kit. I'm not. I am not like you. I don't want to be like you. Naruto, how did you feel before that boy Sasuke came along? Would you rather feel that or be caged forever? I'm not caged, I am human. I'm happy the way I am. He was growling again and didn't bother to stop. He said this, but he wasn't so sure. Suddenly his stomach rumbled. Ah man, now I'm hungry. He sniffed at the air. There was something nearby. Looking through the leaves, he caught the form of a squirrel. Unconsciously, he licked his lips. He was really hungry, and that little rodent looked so fat and tender. Naruto shook his head. No, I can't think like that. But there was that natural instinct to hunt again. Darn it, if he didn't act now, the little beast would get away. Remember what I told you. Shut up, yeah, I remember. He grumbled in his mind and then got serious. The little creature never had a chance. He let go of any human thought as he sunk sharp teeth into his prey. Kakashi was the first to find Naruto after they met back up with Sasuke. The genin had tried to follow the kitsune boy, but he was just too fast. In the end, even the great Uchiha felt the need to go for help. "There's something up with him," he said. "Stupid human?" Sasuke had said. "Was it Kyuubi taking over?" Sakura asked, desperately hoping it wasn't. "No, I don't think so. He still called me team." "Then he's gone into that fox state. I'll move on ahead, you two cover me." Kakashi lifted his Hittite from over his eye, revealing Sharingan. He would find Naruto's trail soon enough. Naruto's ears shifted as he heard something from above. Someone was watching him. Ggrrrrrrr. He guarded his food defensively. "Back off, it's mine. Go away." He smelled the familiar scent of the alpha, Kakashi-sensei. "Easy there, Naruto, I'm not going to take anything." It put Kakashi on edge to see the furry core in his student's hand, along with the red blood dripping down his chin. "Leave me alone, Kakashi-sensei." It surprised him even more when Naruto recognized him. "Naruto, we want to help you. Try to calm down." "No! You're going to take me back. I hate that room. I hate the smells of the hospital." He arched his back tail down and puffed out. "Stop, Naruto!" His eyes turned upward to Sakura. She dropped out of a nearby tree and was looking desperately at him. "Don't you recognize us?" "Sakura-chan," he stopped growling and whimpered a bit. "I can't go back. I can't stand it there." "You're not acting like yourself." Naruto's ears bent back. "You don't understand, it wasn't the same for him back there anymore." Just then something caught him around the shoulders and he spun with a snap. "I said back off," he growled, scratching out at the form. Sasuke felt his shirt tear and blood run down his front. He didn't stop though and grabbed hold of Naruto. That's when he felt his arm burning. Naruto was biting him. He grunted, trying not to cry out in pain. Was he pumping chakra into the wound? "What are you doing, Dobe?" Naruto just growled, his eyes rising to look up at his captor. He wouldn't listen to them. They wouldn't catch him and lock him up again. Kyuubi was whispering for him to just tear the mortal's arm off, but Sasuke and I? The grip on his jaw slacked and he let go, continuing to glare up at his captor. "Let me go." "Not going to happen." For a moment Naruto's eyes flashed red and Sasuke heard another voice inside his mind. "Let my kid go, Uchiha, before I kill you myself." Sasuke just tightened his grip, keeping his eyes at Naruto's now blue gaze. "That your father talking?" "Shut up." Naruto tried to scratch him again, but Sasuke just grabbed his arm. "I'm not a demon, I am not a monster." His voice strained. "Then come back with us. Let us help you," Sakura pleaded desperately. "Don't let Kyuubi do this to you." That did it. Both his human and feral side broke. "Do this to me, Sakura, this is me. Do you hate me now, is that it?" He felt angry tears come into his eyes as he ripped away from Sasuke. Maybe Kyuubi was right, he was changing so much, and yet he was still Naruto underneath it all. Did she reject him just because he had a demon's essence in him? It wasn't fair. "Naruto, we just want what's best for you. Give us a chance to help." Kakashi raised a hand out to him, but he cringed back. "I don't know what's right anymore. I'm not a human, and I'm not a demon." He wept openly. "I thought a long time ago everyone made me feel like I was nothing. Is that true? Am I just some kind of emptiness everyone hates?" "Kit." "Shut up, you stupid fox. I never asked for this. I never asked for you to be sealed inside of me. I don't have a family. I don't have anyone." He stomped out what little light was still in his heart, and Kakashi had a sudden bit of realization. "Sasuke, Sakura, I don't think that Genjutsu has fully worn off. That's why he's being like this." "So the mortal isn't a complete idiot." "He's right, Kit, and I've been doing what I can to protect you from the remnants of that Jutsu. Since you're no longer accepting my help, the weight of that spell will now be on you. Now I have no choice but to use force." What are you talking about?" Naruto's voice shook and suddenly chakra engulfed him. "I'm sorry, Kit." There was so many emotions, sadness, hatred, it was burning him. Naruto couldn't stay conscious anymore. He let himself fall into the darkness. Kakashi sensed when the boy had passed out, so he wasn't ready when he stepped forward and saw Naruto stand. When the half-fox opened his eyes, they were blood red. "There is nothing you mortals can do. Your healing skills cannot help him, that is why I'm going to intervene fully now." Kyuubi used Naruto's voice and made the boy's face look serious. "He is not like you anymore, and the pain you humans bring him will no longer be his to bear. I will see to that." "You can't control him, Kyuubi," Kakashi said harshly. The demon just smiled, though it was a bit sad. You're a fool, human, for thinking I would control my own son. I'm going to make him better and stronger than any of you shinobi. Then we'll both get our revenge on this damn village. With that, Kyuubi's control broke thanks to the seal and Naruto's body crumbled to the ground. Kakashi picked the limp form up and without a word took him to Tsunade. Tsunade watched as the boy struggled in his sleep. Naruto had a high fever, and his restless movements had stripped the bed of sheets and covers. Every few moments he would yell in pain. Other than the painkillers she tried to give him, she could do nothing to help. His best chance is to wait it out, and fight to make it. Tsunade finally told Shizen. Watch him, I'll inform the others. She met Team 7 in the outside halls and forced herself not to cringe at the looks they gave her. Is he going to be alright? The Hokage sighed. There's nothing I can do, this is his fight. But what about what Kyuubi said? Whatever happens, well, we'll take the necessary precautions. Sakura, out of sheer frustration, punched the wall, making it crack. This is all my fault. If I had said those stupid things to him, he wouldn't have been affected so bad. Tsunade put a hand on her shoulder. Enough, this was probably going to happen sooner or later. I wondered why Naruto seemed to recover so fast. If Kyuubi is protecting his mind, then all we can do is wait. How long till you think he wakes up? Kakashi asked from his position against the wall. I have no idea. Can we see him? It was Sasuke this time, his gaze harder than it usually was. The Hokage wanted to say no, then shook her head, changing her mind. Waving a hand, she motioned for them to follow. The moment the door opened, they could hear the bitter cries. It was then that Tsunade wished she hadn't brought them inside. Stop it, leave me alone. Shizen was struggling to keep Naruto on the bed as he screamed. Let me go. I didn't do anything, it's not my fault. Stop hurting me. He gave a particularly loud scream and then fell back. Breathing heavily and his eyes wide but unseeing, he said desperately. Just kill me, I don't want this anymore. Sakura put a hand to her mouth as silent tears ran down her face. Kakashi motioned them to leave when the boy reached a hand out. Shizen took it, squeezing gently. Her own eyes were filled with tears. Naruto's soft voice pleaded in desperation. Where are you two, San? Flashback. Tsunade-bachan, Naruto moaned as she set him on the hospital bed. His body hung limp with his tail slipping off the mattress. Tsunade thought that perhaps he'd awaken. She realized she was wrong, seeing his eyes were still half closed and misty. Sure, just relax, kid. I can't fight it anymore, we're the same, they're both me. She couldn't understand what he was saying, but it didn't take any deep thought to guess what he meant. Naruto was starting to accept the fox mind as his own. Tsunade didn't know what to do. No, Naruto, just hang on. It hurts. Touching his face, she cringed. He was burning up. She could sense the turmoil of conflicting chakra inside of him. Finally, what little aware of his surrounding was lost, and he slipped back into unconsciousness. Naruto stepped into the street, waving back at Itarakuji-san. The old man had treated him to a free extra bowl of ramen. He was so happy. He told Naruto he was too thin and need to put meat on his bones. From that day on, there was no doubt that the ramen stand would be Naruto's favorite place. His happiness didn't last long, though. There were still the villagers he had to deal with. Every day it was the same, those hateful eyes staring at him. The little blonde boy cringed back from people as he moved through the crowd. Why didn't anyone like him? Was he really that bad? When he was at his apartment, he was greeted with the sight of angry red scrawls across his door. He couldn't read them, but he knew it was from one of the ones that glared at him. Bowing his head, he shuffled into his room, shutting the door behind him. Inside, he forced a mental grin. He couldn't let this bring him down. He was going to be a strong ninja one day, and then the villagers would look up to him. The blonde kitsune child cringed in his sleep as another painful wave hit him. Little did he know that Kyuubi was using all his power to keep the remnants of the jutsu off his kit, but it was no use. Along with that, Naruto's rejection of his help was putting a strain on the boy's body. Kyuubi had no choice now as his kit slipped into a deeper mix of cruel memories and nightmares. It would be painful for his kit, but he would need to make the final changes soon. Naruto was digging in the sandbox on the playground, his face coved in dirt. He was grinning as he pulled out a worm. Look what I found, guys! He shouted to the few that had stopped to play with him. The girls yelled while the boys tried to snatch it from him. Cool. What have I told you about going near that boy? A mother gripped her son's wrist, yanking him to his feet. Suddenly other adults appeared, doing the same with their own children. Stay away from my child, demon! Why don't you just disappear or die? Wait, I am not bad, honest, please don't go. Naruto said to one little girl, but she slapped his hand away. No, mommy says you're a monster, stay away from me. She began to cry, and that made it even worse. He never meant to scare or hurt her feelings. Naruto's chest throbbed as the entire playground was evacuated of life and he was alone. It always ended in him being alone. What did I do wrong? He cried, banging his little fists into the earth. Run, they're going to catch up. His feet slammed the earth as he pumped his legs. He didn't know why the villagers were chasing him, just that he wasn't safe. If he stopped now, they would get him, and then he'd be punished because he was a monster. He blinked back tears. He couldn't let that happen. He couldn't be punished again. Something hard hit the back of his head, cutting it. He cried out, tripping forward into a new body. A village man gripped his wrist. Leave me alone! Naruto screamed as his little form was pierced, sharp kicks and stones being thrown at him. Stop it, stop it! He tried striking out, but it didn't matter, he was too small and weak to fight them off. They beat him to the ground, some crying, others screaming, and then there was those who laughed. He hated them the most. Another violent attack made him shriek long and loud as a sword was plunged through his chest. The humans back up, watching him, waiting for him to die slowly. They were spitting on him, cursing him. He was completely broken. Just kill me, I don't want this anymore. He reached out and for a moment, and thought he felt someone grab his hand. The feeling disappeared a moment later. There was no warmth. He was nothing and he just wanted to die. Where are you two-san? I'm here, Naruto. These humans are nothing but a figment of your mind. I can't. Stand up and fight, my little kid. You are above and stronger than the creatures who torment you. Naruto, his eyes dim, touched the blade coming out of his chest. It was so cold and smelled of blood. Survive, little fox. Finish them and come to me. Naruto gripped the steel tightly, cutting his hand as he crushed it. He looked over at the ones who mocked him. Tearing the sword away, he rolled on his heels and crouched. Finish them, Naruto mumbled, staring past Kakashi, who now stood next to Shizen. The child's grip had slacked on her hand and had fallen limp at his side. Fight, Naruto, get through this. The silver-haired Jonin crouched next to him, brushing the boy's blonde hair back. Naruto Hatayate had been removed. Currently Sasuke gripped it in his hand, his knuckle turning white with strain. Naruto cringed as if in pain and then survived. His clawed hand slashed out and caught Kakashi across the neck. The Jonin jumped back, holding the wound. Naruto! There was a look in his eyes like a crystal blue fire. Naruto fell back onto the bed, red chakra seeped out of his pores. There was a sense of killing intent on the air. Naruto just lay there stilly, the bubbling chakra making it to his face as his eyes closed. He breathed out a sigh and a small smile played across his lips. I'm your kid too-san. With a snarl he lunged. Latching onto an arm, he bit down, clawing at flesh. When the other apparitions tried to grab him, he just spun and kicked out, sending them back. Demon, I'll kill you! Naruto's ears and tail grew along with his sharp fangs. He was not a weak little boy anymore. This little fox was the son of Kyuubi. He bared his teeth and slashed with his nails, tearing the man's arm off. There were screams as similar situations went on, and soon all was quiet. Naruto panted in the middle of the fallen bodies. They were dead, all of them. He couldn't help but feel a deep sadness. He was a monster. Kit. His ears perked up. Titu-san? Come here. He didn't waste a moment as he heard the Lord of Demons growl. He had to find him, had to find his Two-san. What's happening? Shizen reeled as the chakra became more violent. Naruto, his features, they were changing. His body was growing smaller, the bones taking a different length and shape. And no! Sakura cried, trying to reach forward, but Sasuke held her back. Everyone looked in horror as the chakra became too dense to see through. There was a flash, and whatever light bulbs were on shattered, sending them into darkness. When the emergency power had finally kicked on, there was a gasp from everyone in the room. Naruto. Two-san? Naruto wandered through the darkness searchingly before he felt something grip his hand. The darkness began to fade away in a red glow. Two-san. He wrapped his tiny arms around Kyuubi, only coming a little above the demon's knee. You did it, Kit. I'm proud of you. The great fox in human form stroked his son's hair. The boy purred, snuggling into him, and Kyuubi wrapped him in his tails. My little Naruto, he gently brushed back a bit of blood still on the boy's cheek. For a moment he felt a pang of regret at what he had done. It dissipated as his son gave him a small smile. "What is it, father?" His wide blue eyes looked innocently up at him, tail twitching. Then the mindscape changed. They were in a field. Naruto giggled, picking a wild flower and sniffing it. It was so beautiful here and the sun was bright. The young kitsune rolled in the grass, giggling and pouncing on invisible foes. Kyubi gave a small smile and sigh. It was over. The memories could no longer affect him. "Watch me too, San!" his kid shouted as he leapt high into the air. Red butterflies flittered up from the grass around him as he chased after them. He was absolutely at peace. "Yes, young fox, forget your humanity and live. My little kitsune Naruto." Tsunade bent over the curled up little form in the middle of the bedspread. The ominous aura was gone and there was a sense of absolute peace in the room. Naruto. She touched the little fox kit, in place of the boy curled up on the covers. There was a grunt from the small creature, but other than that he didn't stir. The fox breathed the deep breaths of sleep. Tsunade lifted her hand and put it to her eyes. How could this have happened? Why couldn't she have done anything? "Is that an Naruto?" Sakura stuttered as Sasuke's grip on her finally loosened. She hadn't even taken a moment to think she'd been in the arms of her crush. All that was on her mind was her teammate. She was at the Hokage's side in a moment. "Naruto? Wake up please," she whispered, falling to her knees and squeezing the bed sheets in front of her. She reached out to try and touch him. He stirred and blinked, looking up at her. Yes, those were definitely Naruto's eyes. No one else had that shade of blue. But they held no recognition. The fox kid yawned at her, and with another blink, curled back up into his warm fur, his tail over his face. He was soon fast asleep again. What's happened to him? Sakura felt numb. It seems Kyubi has taken this into his own hands, and made some changes. Kakashi put a hand on her shoulder. He didn't like this any more than the rest of them. The problem was now, had Kyubi been reborn? He hated the thought, but what else was there? You're a fool, human, for thinking I would control my own son. I'm going to make him better and stronger than any of you shinobi. If anything, there was still that faint hope. Kyubi didn't seem to mean Naruto physical harm, not in the sense he was thinking of. We have to change him back. Sakura looked desperately at the Hokage, but the older woman was at a loss. I'm sorry, Sakura. Bang! There was the slam of a door, and they looked to see Sasuke had gone. The only evidence he'd been there was Shizen, who'd seen him go, and still looked stunned. Kakashi shut his eyes sadly. Sasuke wasn't taking this any better than Sakura. He felt a pang in his chest, remembering what it was to lose a teammate. His relationship with his old teammate had been a lot alike the two boys. He imagined Sasuke was feeling a horrible sense of loss about now. Sakura just continued to sit by the bed and weep. Why can't I be stronger? I am so useless to both Naruto and Sasuke. The only thing I've done is escalate Narup's personal turmoil. Not even her inner self would argue with her, or say anything at all for that matter. Empty emotions filled each heart, like a kunai had dug out a bit of their soul and left it gaping. Sasuke sat unseeing at the end of a dock on one of Konoha's ponds. His chest felt like someone had ripped a hole through it. What was wrong with him? He noticed he was still holding on to Naruto's head tightly, and loosened his grip. The metal was smudged from his sweaty palm. Dobe, what happened to you? He glowered inside his mind. It had been so long ago, he would be sitting in this very spot and the little academy student Uzumaki Naruto would pass above. He'd frown at the looser and the boy would stick out his tongue or do some other childish action. Why was he thinking about this? Naruto was the idiot, a hindrance, someone who didn't know his place. Still, that little brat had pushed forward, and look where it had landed him. If Sasuke had only caught up to the idiot before Koshire had. He cut himself off as a burning sensation came from the back of his neck. The curse mark was becoming empowered with his emotions of loss and anger. It was just like back then, just like with that monster brother of his. He was powerless, weak. How the hell was he supposed to beat Itachi if he couldn't even save one friend? His head burned, and he could hear the whisperings of Orochimaru in the back of his mind. If you seek power, come find me. I will make you stronger. Year. He held his head. Come to me and I will give you all the power you need. You will get your revenge and be able to protect what's precious to you. Feeling even more distraught, Sasuke raised the hand with Naruto's forehead protector. He brought his arm back and threw it into the water with a splash. Disappearing in a ninja blur, he stood on the hill above. With one last look at the lake, he left, and never looked back. Naruto, come here. Kyubi motioned to the boy, bringing him out of his games. Naruto obliged and was next to him in an instant. What is Tucson? He asked excitedly. There is one last thing you need to do before we can both be free. This immediately made the boy's gaze intense. Freedom. Ever since he'd woken with this new life, it had been the most important thing, next to his Tucson, that is. He nodded his head. He would do whatever his father asked him to. Suddenly the landscape changed again. They were in a sewer and Naruto was standing alone on the other side of prison bars. Father? He called, looking around wildly. This place was familiar. What was it? His eye lit up in knowing and then went dim. This was where the humans had sealed Tucson. This was his prison. Our prison. He remembered the village's hated glares and snarled. Father's pain was as much as his own. They would pay for it, locking his Tucson up for beating Naruto and shunning him. He hissed under his breath. Kit. Naruto stepped forward when he heard his father's voice. What do I have to do? He asked, ready for anything. The demon behind the bars smiled. Naruto felt no fear for the great fox. You see that paper? Hi. Tear it away, then you and I will escape together. Naruto looked at the seal above. Was it really that simple? He gave his Tucson a foxy grin. Yes, sir. The enormous fox nodded and his tails crept through the cage wrapping around his son. Naruto was lifted into the air right in front of the seal. As his hand reached for it and began to tear, a voice called out to him. It wasn't his Tucson. Naruto. He turned around and was confused. A man with wild blonde hair, though not as long as his Tucson, stood below. He wore a long white coat. Something about the man stirred in Naruto's memories. The best Hokage ever. Who are you? Naruto asked curiously, while behind the bars a killing intent radiated. Yondaime, come here so I can kill you! His father's voice boomed, all but the tail that held the little fox boy was thrashing. An invitation like that is hardly something I'd take. I think I'll stay here, thanks. Yondaime? Naruto wondered out loud. Though he was frightened of his father's mood, it wasn't directed at him, so he felt no worry. I'm the fourth Hokage, Naruto, Minato said, taking a step closer. Naruto's eyes narrowed and he hoped from his perch in his father's grasp. Naruto. You, the small kitsune's eyes glowed an ominous blue. You're the one who did this to Tucson. For the briefest of moments the pervious Hokage looked surprised. What wasn't expected was the little sad smile that played at his lips. What have you done, Kyubi-san? Stay away from him, Kit. Naruto approached the man, ignoring his father's words. His scent, it was familiar, almost like his own. He sniffed the air cautiously. Naruto, I would have expected you to be older when the Ninetales tried to break free. The blond man looked down at the boy, who just pouted up at him with folded arms. He has Kushina's face. How do you know my name? Simple, Naruto, because I gave it to you. The boy looked shocked, then confused. Huh? Speak another word, Minato, and I swear. Tucson, I want to know who this man is. Naruto shouted suddenly. He didn't know what came over him to make him yell at his father, but there was something about this Yondaime he needed to know. You're the human who sealed father. Minato bent down to be at the same eye level as the little fox boy. It is true, Naruto. I sealed the Kyubi inside of you the day you were born. In doing so, I placed some of my own chakra inside as well, in case the seal was ever to break. He smiled and Naruto saw his eyes were blue. Just like mine. You're the reason they hated me. The little boy balled a fist. I should hate you, he growled, throwing a punch. If he had been using the power Kyubi had given him, the Yondaime wouldn't have stood a chance. As it was, the boy was so distraught he could barely function right. Minato caught his hand easily but still cringed at the strength behind it. I would understand if you do. You've changed so much, Naruto-kun. Stop saying my name like that, I don't know you. Perhaps not, but I would like to address my son by his given name when I see him. Naruto froze. What? Minato leaned in a little closer so their foreheads were almost touching. You heard me, Naruto. I'm your father. Naruto's eyes teared up. No, it had to be a lie. His Tucson was behind him, caged in the human's cruel prison. It was his duty to free them both. Something gentle touched Naruto's face and he blinked. Naruto, I am so sorry. For all of your suffering, it wasn't my intent for that to happen. You were to be seen as a hero, not a monster. You've changed so much, little one. Get away from my kid Hokage. It seems you have changed as well, Ikubi-san? Minato looked up at the nine tails. Or maybe that's something that has to do with Naruto as well? Kyubi growled. So Minato was right. Being sealed inside of Naruto for so many years had actually influenced the beast. Even through all the killing intent aimed at him and the grim loathing from his own son, he knew Kyubi cared for his child. Naruto, I saw the turmoil your mind was in and I know that it was Kyubi who helped save you, but you seem to have forgotten much of yourself with it. What do you mean? My purpose to be here was to rebuild the seal. Seeing as that wouldn't make a difference now, I've decided I won't. He then turned his blue gaze on Kyubi. That blue gaze so much like the demon young kid. Listen now, Kyubi-sama, before I go I have one favor to ask of you. As a demon I trust you'll keep your word. Kyubi was silent behind the iron bar's eyes narrow. You can raise Naruto, but let him come back to the leaf one day. Wait before you settle your wrath on the village and let him make the decision of what he wants on his own. I do not believe you hate Konoha as much as you think Naruto, and I wish to give you a chance to think over the path that's been placed before you. They hurt me, they chained me, I hate them. Naruto hissed, backing away. He didn't like this man, he wanted him to go away. Minato gave his sad smile again. I have faith in you, Naruto. You will find the answer. As Naruto was gripping one of the demon lord's tails, he said, You have faith in me? Minato nodded his head, and this time his smile was a bit lighter and full of kindness. It is a parent's duty to have undying faith in their child Naruto. He took a moment to glance at Kyubi, and a silent conversation seemed to pass between them. Minato could feel himself fading away with his chakra. Another thing, Naruto. I also sealed some of your mother's chakra for when you would learn to control the Kyubi's power. Things have changed, but I'm sure at some point when you truly need her, she will come to you. And my mommy? Ka-san? Naruto stuttered and stumbled forward. Wait, tell me what she was like, tell me about my mommy. Minato smiled. She was beautiful, a beautiful will of fire. With that said, the Hokage's form completely disappeared. Naruto sat shell-shocked. Kid? The kitsune didn't answer. Naruto? Tusan, did my Ka-san love Konoha? This was a very soft question. Kyubi breathed a deep sigh. She did. I want to leave now. Naruto looked up at him, his innocent eyes full of something Kyubi couldn't read. Tusan, I want to leave and never come back. Kyubi wrapped him up in his tails again and pulled him close. As you wish, Kit. Naruto raised a hand and peeled back the last of the seal. I choose to be free. Sasuke put the last of his scrolls in his backpack and swung the bag over his shoulder. He was ready. With a grim sigh, he went to open the door to leave, only to glance back at the picture frame he'd pushed over. Team 7, what a joke. Tsunade stirred when she saw the movement out of the corner of her eye. The others had left long ago, and again she would not leave Naruto's side. Turning her head, she saw that the little fox was awake. With a yawn, the kitsune blinked at her, cocking his head. Naruto? He blinked again. Tsunade smiled bitterly. You don't even remember me, do you? The kid jumped down from his perch on the bed and trotted over to her. She lifted him in her arms, and he gave her a lick on the nose. Oba-chan. She almost dropped him as she heard the voice in her mind. Naruto's eyes flashed red, and this time she really did let him go. The fox landed gracefully below, and then with a final look at her jumped to the edge of the window. It was barely open, but he managed to wiggle his small body out before she could catch him. No, stop. Tsunade wrenched the glass open, but all she could see was a flash of red in the moonlight. Shizen! Kakashi! Sakura panted as she searched the streets. Shizen had woken her up with an urgent message saying Naruto had run away. Tsunade and Kakashi were already after him, and she was sent to get Sakura and Sasuke. But no one had been home when they'd gone to the Uchiha complex. Sakura shook her head. Wherever Sasuke was, maybe he'd find Naruto first, or even already knew he'd disappeared and was out looking for him. She didn't know how he would, but nothing added up to why he hadn't been at his house. The kunoichi felt a sickness in her stomach she didn't understand. Come on, Sakura, you can't keep worrying about Sasuke, not when Naruto needs you both. Where are you, Sasuke? We need you. Both young women stopped as they heard a loud boom. There was no mistaking the sound of the Hokage's punch. Shizen recognized the noise as a tree that had just been shattered. Passing through the open gates of Konoha with its stunned guards, they hear the Hokage's voice boom. How dare you! Naruto passed through the darkened streets quickly. He could smell all the humans but saw nothing. It was almost time to San and he would be free. Hurry, Kit, the last of the seal is wearing down. Almost there. The red chakra releasing Kyuubi's seal was covering the little Kit's body. One full foxtail and 8 chakra tails whipped behind him. The night watch at the great gates of Konoha didn't comprehend what it was they saw running straight for them. Naruto gave a fox grin as he saw the barrier in front of him piece of cake. He leapt little paws infusing chakra to the giant doors as he ran and jumped to the other side. What was that thing? One guard asked his comrade. All they had seen was a red blur. I don't know, but... You there? Did you see a fox pass this way? Hokage-sama? No, but we saw a really strange red blur pass over the gate. One guard bowed awkwardly, but Tsunade ignored that. Open the doors before I break them down, she bellowed. No one argued and Kakashi followed after her. They were moving deeper into the forest. Pakun? Right, he's this way. The small ninja dog said up to his summoner, before digging his paws into the ground with a halt. Someone's there. Who? The dog motioned with a paw and Kakashi was surprised to see he was shaking. It was an even bigger shock when he felt his own limbs doing the same. The seal. He breathed, looking up, and a red glow filled their vision. Standing before them was a 9-tailed kitsune. Kyuubi! The fox grinned. You catch on quick, human. Why, you where is Naruto? Tsunade demanded, her fist shaking. The fox's ears went back. That's none of your concern, old woman. Tsunade's face darkened. None of my. She raised a fist and with a thunderous crack it snapped a thick tree. How dare you! Kyuubi just laughed, and his tail swung around him. He emitted another burst of red light. When it had dissipated, standing in front of them was a human-like figure with 9 red tails and wild crimson hair. His ears, not foxes, were a bit pointed and tipped with black. I believe you are outmatched, old woman. About this time Sakura and Shizen had come on the scene, panting. When they caught sight of the figure giving off such a maniacal chirka, they flinched back. The 9-tails laughed. What have you done to Naruto? Tsunade was burning furiously, but she knew she could get close to the demon. How she wanted to kill the evil beast for what he'd done. Tusan? The party flinched at this small new voice. A little blonde head of hair peeked out from the folds of Kyuubi's kimono. Tusan, who are these people? What they saw was a little boy who couldn't have been more than 2 years old. His fox ears, much too large for his head, were perked but wary. He sniffed the air and blinked, then pointed. Bachan! He was looking at Tsunade with a sparkle in his eyes. Yes, Naruto, do you recognize me? Bachan was there when Naruto was born, right, Tusan? The boy looked up at the great demon questioningly. Kyuubi nodded and Naruto giggled. It was a young sound with a note of his familiar laugh, while also holding something much more inhuman and beautiful. He waved a hand at Tsunade, the other still clutching Kyuubi's cloths. Bye-bye, Obachan. And Naruto? Sakura stuttered. What had happened to him? What are you saying? Don't you remember us? Don't go. The girl shouted, on the verge of tears again. She had to be strong now for Naruto's sake. The boy cocked his head as if just recognizing her and sniffed. Cherry Blossom? He said with a little smile. Pretty Sakura. Naruto? He didn't know who she was at all, just her scent and brief glimpses of the day he was born. He tugged on his father kimono. Can we leave now, Tusan? Kyuubi was about to answer when Sakura burst out again. It seemed all of the adults had lost their voice when they saw the kitsune child. Leave? Why, Naruto, don't you remember your dreams? What about being Hokage Team 7? What about the village? She cried desperately. Please let him remember something, just don't let that demon take him away. Unfortunately, Naruto did remember a small bit of his past, and that immediately made his eyes turn steely. The village? He spoke, very soft, hair falling in his downturned face. I hate the village. Again he didn't speak loudly, but his voice vibrated off of every part of their beings. What are you saying? You love Konoha? Sakura couldn't keep the tears in and the boy looked up. His eyes were glowing like bright sapphires. I hate Konoha, the villagers, they hurt me, they're mean. He tried to keep his voice as calm as a small child in turmoil could, when he saw the pretty Cherry Blossom crying. Don't cry, Sakura-chan, you're too pretty to cry. He added, lower lip trembling. This just brought a fresh new wave of tears to Sakura. Please, Naruto, don't go. Naruto looked up at his father with troubled eyes. He didn't understand. Why is she so unhappy? I suppose because she feels she is losing a very dear friend. Kyubi must, though he showed no compassion. Human lives were weak and frail to him. In 1,000 years from now the girl wouldn't exist to either of them. Friend? He rubbed his head not unlike his older form would do, then turned and smiled cutely at Sakura. Cherry Blossom will always be Naruto's friend from now on, he said happily, and Sakura felt a wave of something light hit her. The child was radiating chakra directed at her not unlike Kyubi. But this chakra, it drove the darkness away, emanating a deep comfort and happiness. Sakura's tears stopped falling, and in a blur the human eye couldn't comprehend Naruto was in front of her. He motioned for her to come down to his level, and she did. He wiped away her tears and then kissed her cheek. Forever, Sakura-chan. Please don't go, Naruto. He just smiled at her and blinked his big blue eyes. I love you, Sakura, pretty cherry blossom. Another blur of motion, and he was next to his father. Naruto, wait. This time it was Kakashi. He seemed to have regained his voice. Off Kakashi-sensei? Naruto muttered, hiding a little bit. Will you ever return? Naruto looked confused. Why did the big predator seem so frail? He just shook his head. Why? Naruto's eyes glowed. If I come back, I will destroy the village Ka-san loved, and I can't. He shouted, then whimpered a bit. I love my Ka-san. Kakashi couldn't believe his ears. Did Naruto know who his parents were? Had Kyubi told him? Then go. Everyone turned to the new voice, including the kid who'd buried his face in the fabric of his father's cloths. He immediately recognized the person. Ni-san. He stumbled forward. Shut up. Naruto stopped. Why was brother getting so angry with him? He could feel the cold radiating off his body. What's wrong, Sasuke and I? I told you to be quiet. Sasuke glared into his eyes with heartless black orbs. I already have a brother, and he's not you. These words tore through Naruto's heart like a hot knife that burned cold. His ears went back and he trembled. Sasa. Go away. But. I said go away, you pathetic loser. You're not my brother, we have nothing. The only bond one have is the one of hate with my true brother Itachi. Sasuke. Sakura couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her own body felt weak. That had done it. Naruto snapped. There was a wave of screaming chakra that cried out in pain, and not even Kyubi got to his son first. Trees bent and the earth around Naruto exploded. The boy disappeared only to reaper in front of Sasuke, a clawed hand aimed at his face. Sasuke jumped back but didn't escape unscathed. A sharp scratch had been torn through his forehead protector right through the leaf symbol. Naruto snarled on all fours. He felt betrayed and was now giving off killing intent. Kyubi had no idea what possessed him to do this. For the pain that boy had caused his kid, he deserved to die. But a moment later Kyubi was beside his son, and his tails were wrapping him close. Enough, Kit, it's time to leave, he said as his little boy broke down into tears. I never want to come back, I never want to see you again, Ni-san. He cried, letting himself be taken in by Kyubi. I have made a deal with the Yondaime. I will not destroy this village tonight, or hereafter. His wish was that Naruto, given the choice to return to Konoha, would make his own decision to whether this village will live or die. His crimson eyes flash. I will not be so merciful if I ever see any of you or a villager near my kid again. I will not hesitate to rip your heart out. A moment later there was a flash and both Kyubi and Naruto stood there in fox form. Naruto's tail wavered pitiably. With a motion from his father's head he began to follow him deeper into the forest. Don't! Tsunade cried, trying to move but stumbled over her own feet in distraught. Kyubi looked back at her with narrow red eyes. He let off a huge wave of chakra, sending all those present, beside his kit and himself, unconscious. Naruto glanced back only once. He knew his father hadn't killed them and turned back to his Tusan. They continued to walk, slowing, crossing from the realm of humans to that of demons. A cold breeze passed over Sasuke and his face tightened. Had he left the window open? No, he remembered packing his bag and... His eyes snapped wide and took in the starry night sky. What happened, he mumbled, looking around at the small disaster area. His memories all came flooding back. So, he's gone. Sasuke picked up the backpack that had been discarded after Naruto attacked him. He put his arm through the straps and began to walk. Wait, Sasuke, a weak voice pleaded, and he turned to see Sakura struggling to her feet. Where are you going? I'm leaving Konoha. What? You heard me, Sakura. There's nothing left for me here. You're all too weak, so I'm going to Orochimaru. His back turned to her. Sakura felt her heart break. He was serious. No! She cried, stumbling forward and latching onto him from behind. You can't do this, Sasuke. I can't lose both of you. Not like this. She sobbed. I don't know why you said those things to Naruto, but you can't have meant them. If you go, I swear I'll scream. She threatened. They both knew that if she did, someone in the village would come running. Being seen with two outranking shinobi, plus the Hokage unconscious, wasn't something the Uchiha wanted to deal with. He sighed, and a second later he was behind her. The girl gasped. She felt her heart pounding. Sasuke, I care about you and Naruto. Please don't leave so we can get our team back together. There was a long moment of silence. Sasuke shoved his emotions in a tight corner and never looked back. Sakura, he whispered close to her ear. Arigato. He knocked her out with on swift motion. She crumpled at his feet. Sasuke looked down at her tear-stained face. There's nothing left in Konoha for you. You're weak and can't even protect the little friendships you have. Orochimaru's voice echoed in the background and Sasuke cringed. Revenge is all I need, he said out loud. With that he undid his Konoha Hitate, turned his back on the village and fled. Kakashi looked deadly serious at his pink-haired student. Are you sure that's exactly what he said? She nodded, and he didn't like the look of blank deadness on her face. They were in the Hokage's office, and it had only been a few hours since the adults had woken up. Tsunade had been tending to Sakura when she'd come conscious and told them Sasuke had gone. I'll form a squad to go after him, Tsunade said, then ordered Shizen to bring her Shikamaru. This seemed to break Sakura out of her empty stare. Let me go too, Hokage-sama. I want to. Out of the question. Tsunade didn't even raise her voice. Sakura's face turned red. He's my teammate, I have to bring him back. I have to bring them both home, she shouted in a very un-Sakura-like manner. She slammed her palms on the Hokage's desk. I won't lose both of them in the same day, I won't. Tsunade's narrow gaze never left her. You are too emotionally attached to the objective, which could cause a hindrance to the mission. Then let me go after Naruto, someone has to bring him back. No. If it was Sasuke or Naruto, you would let them go. It's because everyone thinks I'm too weak, she thundered, grabbing a small porcelain figure on the desk and shattering it against the wall. She was breathing heavily. I really care for Sasuke, and Naruto, he's my best friend. They both are. Tsunade, her face unreadable, walked around the table and stood directly in front of the girl. Sakura glared at her through her tears. The older woman sighed, and in one swift motion punched her in the gut, sending her across the room. Lady Tsunade! Shizen tried to run to Sakura's aid, but was stopped by the look in her master's eyes. Hokage-sama, even Kakashi thought she was taking it too far. Tsunade didn't answer either of them as she stood, a thunderous storm over Sakura. The girl, now in tremendous pain, tried to look up at her with defiance. Stop having a tantrum like a baby. If this is the way you are willing to act for your teammates, then I suggest you take your Hitate off now. That being the case, then you're right, you are weak, the Hokage said harshly, bringing tears to the younger girl's eyes. But there is a way to change that if you're strong enough, that is. She got down close to Sakura's face, both their eyes burning into the others. From this day forward you will be my apprentice. Sakura broke her stare in shock. What? The others in the room were just as surprised. Tsunade continued, standing back to her full height, her voice not as loud but just as serious. If you truly care about your friends, then you will have the patience to get stronger. Rushing in now with your inexperience will only result in getting you killed. She had her head turned as she said this, then looked back down with the power of her title Hokage. She knew what it was to lose precious people. That was why she would not go easy on the young genin. If you are so dead set to save them, get stronger, then you can bring them home. For a moment Sakura just sat speechless, then with one hand pressed against the wall she struggled to her feet. Kakashi hesitated to help her before his student dismissed him with a sharp wave. Soon she was standing on shaking legs. I'll do it, she said softly, her head still bent before she looked up with sheer determination. She had Sasuke's scarred Konoha forehead protector squeezed in her hand and looked down at it hardly. I'll bring them home because they would do the same for me. Because we're a team. Tsunade nodded her head. Shizen, help Sakura to the hospital. I suspect she has a few cracked ribs. Hi, Lady Tsunade. The dark-haired woman lifted one of Sakura's arms over her shoulder and led her out of the room. There was a long pause of silence. You did that so she couldn't go after either of them, didn't you? Kakashi was referring to the punch, and Tsunade nodded. That girl, she's a lot like me. Sasuke may have left of his own free will, but Naruto is still out there. I will not see another suffer loss like I have. Not if I can help it. Kakashi nodded. There's little hope for either of them. The Naruto we knew may not even exist anymore, and Sasuke went to Orochimaru willingly. The Hokage touched the front of her shirt, just where the necklace of the first Hokage once hung. She was thinking of a certain sun-kissed blonde who had won it from her. There is always hope. The ninja team comprised of 4 genin and 1 jounin failed in their attempt to get Sasuke back, almost paying for it with their lives. The group had been comprised of Kakashi, Shikamaru, Choji, Kiba, and Niji. Rock Lee showed up unexpectedly at the end to take Kakashi's place with Kimimaro. Each had fought their own battles and lost horrifically. Not even Kakashi had been able to convince Sasuke of coming back. He ended up in critical condition when the boy put a Chidori through his gut. Shikamaru reckoned they were lucky that the Sand siblings had shown up. If they hadn't, the entire team would have probably been dead. Sakura was hospitalized for over a month before she convinced Lady Tsunade to start training her. It was a long, hard battle for the girl, but she pulled through. She learned faster than even Shizen. Along with her elite chakra control, she had the potential to take Tsunade's strength jutsu to the next level. In all that time, no one heard even a whisper about Naruto other than gossip. Some said he had gone off with the Uchiha brat. Others thought he'd finally been assassinated by the Anbu. Most theories were completely far from the truth. No one other than the few who'd been there that night knew what had happened to Uzumaki Naruto. Not even Jiraiya, who hadn't been seen in the Konoha for years. Tsunade expected he must have caught wind of Naruto's disappearance, and was avoiding the village altogether. Meanwhile, a new bounty hunter had shown up not 6 months after Konoha's most hyperactive unexpected ninja left. He was called the Fox Prince, and was known for his merciless kills. The strange thing was this hunter always seemed to eradicate those who were wreaking havoc or cruelty down on others. Ninja teams who had been hired to dispose of a certain traitor diplomat or dictator would show up only to find their target dead and bloody. There was a lot of mystery involving the Fox Prince, and over the years it only grew. Some called him a shapeshifter who would come in the form of a beast or the guised off a human boy. There were a few who said he turned himself into a young man and tried to kidnap pretty girls for his dark desires. Others thought that he was perhaps a good spirit sent to protect the people of the land. In the end, only the Fox Prince himself knew of his true nature. Back in Konoha, Sakura was tirelessly working day and night to find any sign of Naruto or Sasuke. It wasn't until a year later that she found anything about the Uchiha's whereabouts. She'd hunt down the areas Orochimaru was said to have been last, sending summons and letters in every way possible to get to Sasuke. Finally, at some point, her efforts were either being unjustly provoked or luck was on her side, because one day while in the Hawk Tower she received an answer. Sakura was leaning back against the wall. Her head was still throbbing from the match she'd had with the Hokage. Tsunade had practically made Sakura her own grave when throwing her to the earth this time. Ugh, I'll never insult her taste in men again, Sakura mumbled, when something flew through the window. One of Sai's messenger hawks? She let the creature land on her arm, then opened a scroll, letting it hop onto the paper and disperse into a message. It was from Sasuke. Sakura. If you truly wish to see me, then meet me in 3 days at the monument of the first Hokage, and Madara Uchiha in the Valley of the End. Come alone and bring nothing but the information you say you have. At the end of the message was the Uchiha crest. Even without it, Sakura knew who it was from. At that moment, Tsunade had entered the office and Sakura had crushed the paper in her hand. She had fire in her eyes when she looked back at her teacher. Not a word passed between them, but the Godame knew. A moment later, the older woman turned to her assistant and ordered, Shizen, summon Hatake, Kakashi, and Sai. Shizen just about dropped Tun-Tun, the Hokage's pet pig, when she said this. Right away, Tsunade-sama, and raced out the door. So, it's finally time. Tsunade walked to the window Sakura was staring out of. He'll be much stronger now that he's trained under Orochimaru. But remember, you're my apprentice, and your strength rivals that of 100 men. Hi, Hokage-sama. Sakura nodded, turning to her with determination. I will not fail. I will not fail either of them, Naruto or Sasuke. After packing her things and being the first to wait at the gate to leave, Sakura mussed what had gotten her to this point. She remembered about 2 months ago when Sai had joined their team. What are you saying, Hokage-sama? Sakura shook her head in refusal. No way, what if he found out about Naruto's condition? It is out of my hands, Sakura. The council has assigned him to your team in the sole purpose of the retrieval of Uchiha Sasuke. He may be from root, but I have to agree with them on one point. Team Kakashi is missing 2 members. You need at least 1 more person to make an efficient cell. I don't care, Danzo and the council, they. I am well aware, Sakura. Tsunade thundered, but this only sent the girl back for a minute. Tsunade had perhaps influenced her too well. I don't trust Danzo or his subordinates any more than you, maybe more, but this is an order from the council and your Hokage, so out of respect you're going to comply. Tsunade was grounding her teeth inwardly as she cursed the old fools who'd outruled her. Most of the time the Godame had the last word, but then she had to keep both the shinobi and civilian councils happy. If not, they could impeach her from office. Sakura scoffed at her last comment. An order, huh? Just like the council ordered Itachi Uchiha to. Tsunade slammed her palms on her desk, eyes flashing with new fire. You are going to be assigned an extra team member, Haruno-san, and you are going to do it in an honorable and dignified fashion. Between teacher and student, it seemed almost laughable that the older woman could educate the younger on any dignified behavior. Sakura just bowed stiffly and grumbled. Yes, Hokage-sama. Later in the evening, Team Kakashi met up in Training Field B. Kakashi as always was late and Sakura was forced to wait for this new member alone until he showed up. Alright, Sakura, stop being so stubborn. He may be from Root, but he's still a leaf ninja. He might not be so bad, maybe we could even be friends. She stopped when someone from behind tapped her should. With a jump she spun around and tried to land a right hook. The intruder merely dodged. Huh! Sakura's brow furrowed. It was a boy with the most pale white skin she'd ever seen. His black hair and eyes contradicted the features terribly, but in a way that was very attractive. His wardrobe consisted of all black with a half shirt exposing his lean navel. Sakura blushed deeply when she found she was staring and looked up at his face. Hello, I'm Sai. The boy had a smile that looked so forced it hurt Sakura's eyes. She raised an eyebrow at him. The guy wore a Konoha forehead protector. Was this the ANBU that would be joining their team? Haruno Sakura, apprentice of the Hokage and member of Team Kakashi. She bowed her head only slightly, though she didn't in particularly want to be polite, especially after he'd snuck up on her like that. Could you have been more subtle? She added in disdain. You did not seem to notice me. Why would I waste any more of my skills? That's not what I meant. She growled at his blank expression, seeing he wasn't even mocking her back. The guy didn't seem to understand the language of sarcasm. Humph, anyway, it's rude to sneak up on a lady. She folded her arms. A lady? He cocked his head slightly, that blank look still on his face. I thought I had stumbled on an angry bull. What did you say? Mat Sakura. A hand grabbed her wrist before she could pull another punch. Kakashi knew not to take one of the pink kunoichi's punches straight on in any way. Not unless you wanted to end up in the hospital. Unfortunately, since she had diverted her attention from Sai, Kakashi was now getting the full impact of her wrath. You're late, Kakashi-sensei. He rubbed the back of his head with his opposite hand. She'd yelled at him in the past, but what had happened to his most polite student? Sorry about that, I got lost on the way here and a kid asked for my help finding his lost dog. Sakura's eyes narrowed, and this time she didn't miss. Kakashi landed dead smack against a tree, bending it. A moment later his clone disappeared in a puff of smoke. Now is that any way to treat you, sensei? The Jonin's voice came from behind Sai. He had his eye smile on and a hand up not a foot away from the pale ANBU. Yo. The boy didn't even blink. He just bowed as far as he could go without butting his head into the older man's stomach. He still had that sickeningly face smile. Nice make your acquaintance, Kakashi-senpai. I'm known as Sai. Well, don't you have good manners? The Jonin continued to eye smile, while Sakura was still seething. That pale little leech just called me a cow, manners my dash. Well, now that we're all acquainted, let's see what kind of potential you two have as a team. Kakashi clapped his hands together. Come at me with everything you got for the next 10 hours. If I'm not yawning by morning, I may just have to tell Hokage-sama neither of you are up for the task of finding Sasuke. Needless to say, Kakashi wasn't exactly unaffected by the two of them. Of course he didn't show it in the slightest though. The only thing that let Sakura know they had an edge now was that he wasn't pulling out his Aika paradise. She noted Sai's unique abilities with his ink creatures and he recognized her brute strengths, something that would be dictated upon for the next 2 months of missions together. It wasn't until a month after their first meeting that Sakura and Sai were able to be in the same room and talk like decent people. Well, at least Sakura could. Sai was about as dirty-mouthed as his porcelain looks. They'd just finished a simple C-rank mission when the ink user questioned Sakura. So why are you so dead set on finding this Uchiha Sasuke? He seems to have brought you nothing but pain. Why do you want to know? Sakura grumbled as she pulled some cloths from her pack. They were staying at an inn with a small hot spring and she wanted to get cleaned up. You're always cranky, aren't you, ugly? Sigh, on more word and I swear I'll paint you a new face. He raised his hands, though once again it was a fake action to appear more human. Sakura didn't think the guy had a human bone in his body. In fact, he was probably an alien. She gave herself permission to smile a bit. It sounded like something Naruto would say. This thought made her face fall once again. He turned his back on the village of his own free will. Why try so desperately to bring him back? Sai continued to prod. This had been questioned before, but usually with Sasuke being called scum or garbage. Since Sai wasn't using such terms this time, she thought she might respond to him without trying to kill him. Sakura stood and was in the door frame with her back to him. You wouldn't understand. Perhaps, but I would still like to know. She could sense his fake smile. Sasuke and Nasasuke and I have a bond, one that I'm not willing to let break. We are friends and teammates. If it had been me in his place, I'm sure he would do the same. Bond? Yes, something a heartless jerk like you could never understand. She left swiftly down the hall and Sai could faintly smell the hint of salt water on the air. He pulled a small book from his backpack and looked intently at it. I wonder if we still have our bond, Nisan. Sakura waited broadly at the gates for over an hour. I swear when I see Kakashi-sensei I'm gonna flatten him, CHA. Sakura-san? She glanced up at the voice and saw Hinata in front of her, index fingers pointing together. Hello, Hinata? Is there something you need? Sakura asked curiously. The girl bit her lip then bowed profusely. I would like to join you on your mission, she said in the loudest whisper she'd ever dared. Sakura had a little sweat drop on the side of her head. No need to be so formal, Hinata. But can I ask why you would want to go with us? She rubbed her head confusedly. This was an S-class mission. How had Hinata found out, and for what reason did she want to go? She didn't have a previous relationship with Sasuke, no female had. The Hokage summoned my cousin Niji last minute, but he is already gone on the mission. I'm willing to take his place if the Team W will have me. She bowed again and then looked up through her half-length long hair hopefully. She'd been letting it grow out since the disappearance of Naruto. When Sakura was still looking at her funny, she added, I remember Naruto-kun had a special relationship with Sasuke. I was hoping that if he came back there would be more people to look for him. She hadn't been this red since seeing her blonde crush in person, and was on the verge of fainting when Sakura spoke again. So that's it? The pink-haired girl looked at the Hyuga heiress with a smile of understanding. You like Naruto a lot, don't you? Hinata would have turned another shade of red if it were possible. He always was nice and believe in himself. He even believed in me at the Chuchunin exams. Sakura nodded. I wonder, how do you figure Sasuke and Naruto have a close relationship? They hardly showed it at all. I saw him a year ago before he disappeared and Naruto was eating our ramen and got mad at some ninja. He called Sasuke his brother. Sakura's face fell, remembering the incident before Naruto's fox mind had fully taken over, or so it seemed to her. Yeah, I didn't even know he felt that way until that day, she said. I want to bring him home. Hinata was looking at her feet, shuffling them. I want to show him how strong I am, how strong I am going to be. Sakura smiled again. Somehow she understood exactly what the girl meant. She cared for Naruto like Sakura did for Sasuke. It may not have been the love that she wanted or even understood at this point in her life, but it was a love all the same. I see you've already packed for the trip. It's going to be a bit of a journey, she said, motioning to the small pack on Hinata's back with her eyes. Hinata blushed again, then smiled. Thank you, Sakura-san. Sakura. Someone was shaking her shoulder. The team had camped out under the stars only a few miles from the Valley of the End. Sakura blinked. What's wrong, Hinata? Is it my turn to take watch? The dark violet-haired girl shook her head quickly. It's Sai activated my Byakugan while he thought I was asleep and I saw him heading for the valley. This made Sakura bolt upright. That pale dirty-mouthed idiot. Did he want to endanger the mission? I'm going to. Hold on, Sakura. Kakashi was finishing up packing their few things. I've been keeping an eye on Sai for a while now and I have a feeling his mission is a bit different than our own. Kakashi crossed his arms thoughtfully. It was one of his messenger birds that brought back that letter from Sasuke, right, Sakura? Yeah, but what does that have to do with anything? Danzo might be planning to have a certain missing Uchiha assassinated. What? Sakura hissed. She didn't completely understand, but she trusted her sensei. Her blood was boiling. She knew Sai was a jerk and couldn't show true emotion even if it killed him. But to do this? They were teammates, even if only for a short while. Remember, he is still with Root, and that loyalty has been bashed into him since he was young. Either way though, this mission is obviously going underneath both the Hokage and Council's noses. Kakashi taped a figure to his own nose. I say we watch and wait until the time is right to strike. Meanwhile, Sai was waiting on the edge near the mountain's waterfall when out of the shadows came a form. Are you the one called Sai? A cold, even voice spoke out, and Sai smiled in his direction. You would be correct. Uchiha Sasuke, I presume? In a flash of movement, a katana was pressed to the pale boy's throat, Sharingan blazing behind him. I'm not sure you'll live if you get that answer. Now, what do you want? I've come to join Orochimaru as a go-between for him and Danzo. There was a pause. Anything else? Your friend the ugly pink banshee, you find her annoying? You're trying my patience. Haruno Sakura, the girl who sent you the first message. She is loud and violent yet keeps insisting she has some kind of bond with you. For a brief second Sasuke's eyes widened and then he slit Sai's throat. The ANBU disappeared in a slash of ink. It's more polite to address someone personally. Yes, you are correct. But if that had been my neck, I'm sure I'd be quite dead by now. Sai gave a fake laugh, now pressing even harder. So is it true? Do you not care about her at all? All she does is rant about you and how she's going to bring you back to Konoha. You know what? Sasuke sheathed his weapon with his Uchiha smirk. You talk too much. He preformed some hand seals and then brought his fingers to his lips. Katangakakyu no Jutsu. He blew a fireball straight at the artist, who had to jump out of the way. Needless to say, this alerted the others to their location immediately. Now Sasuke, is that any way to treat one of Lord Orochimaru's guests? Kabuto entered to his right, pushing his glasses up. Sasuke gave a huh, and ignored him. Sai, who had landed not too far in front of them, smiled. Will we be going them? Kabuto nodded his head and motioned for both of them to follow. At this point, Hinata had deactivated her Byakugan and was looking awestruck. What is it? Sakura asked. He's going W with them. What? Sai J just W went with Orochimaru and Sasuke. But I thought he was going to try and kill Sasuke. Sakura cried. They'd stopped moving through the trees after Hinata's statement, and were now close to the valley. Sakura bit her lip, knowing she needed to be quiet. Stupid, you're going to give your position away. Kakashi had put a hand to his chin. Interesting, but with the way he talks about Sasuke, I have a hard time seeing him turn traitor. He looked over at the two girls seriously. Sai may still plan to kill him, but then there is the chance Danzo is trying to infiltrate Oto. Sakura felt her face burn up even more. All this time they were just being used. She'd thought at some point maybe, just maybe, Sai had some feelings, but she was wrong. She turned her head away from the others, feeling ashamed. What do we do now, Kakashi-sensei? Hinata asked carefully. It was Sakura who answered. We go after Sasuke. She had her back to them and her fist raised. I don't care what Danzo or the council wants. I'm getting him back, and if Sai gets in my way, she cracked her knuckles threateningly. Well, that's all fine and good, Sakura, but don't you think we should have a plan first? Kakashi waved a hand in his usual easygoing tone. He continued even though the girl gave no response. He then became the serious joinin that had promoted him to AMUB captain so long ago. As I said before, first we watch and wait. Judging by what Hinata saw, Sasuke can handle himself. Let's see if he still comes to meet you at the valley. Knowing Sasuke, he will not pass up the chance for the information you have on his brother. Sakura nodded. But what about Orochimaru? It could be a trap. She hated the thought of her old teammate planning to capture or kill them, but they couldn't outrule it. Sasuke was an enemy of Konoha. Konoha's enemy or not, he is still my friend. Chances are we were going to have to deal with him eventually. Sasuke wanted you to come alone. I'm willing to bet this little meeting is a secret even from Orochimaru. That's pretty far-fetched to hope for. Sakura bit her lip and looked up at the sky. We have little less than 3 hours. I believe Sasuke can beat Sai if he has to. Alright, we wait. It hadn't been long since they arrived at Orochimaru's hideout with the teleportation technique. Sai had been given a room and locked inside. He showed no complaints, and when he was sure no one was spying on him, began painting in one of his scrolls. Hundreds of little creatures spilled from the paper, scurrying off in different directions under the door. All that the creatures would see and hear would be shared into his own memory. His mission was to gather as much information on Orochimaru as possible along with the assassination of Uchiha Sasuke. So far everything was going according to plan. He'd already met the snake and given him the scroll that contained Danzo's message. After an hour of sitting at his bed with a blank face, he stood and opened the door. One of his creatures had already unlocked it for him. It was time for Phase 2 to commence, and he already knew which room the Uchiha resided in. Deep into the hideout, Sai opened the door to the room where his mission lay, seeming asleep. He conjured a group of snakes that slowly slithered over the boy, ready to strangle him. A moment later, the creatures were dispersed from an aura of immensely menacing chakra. Two Sharingan eyes penetrated the darkness and glared coldly at the artist. "What do you want?" Sai smiled. "My mission is to kill the rogue ninja Uchiha Sasuke." Sasuke scoffed but didn't bother to stand. "I knew you were just a spy. I don't know why that snake is putting up with you." "You haven't answered my question." Sai still smiled, but this time there was an air of coolness coming from him. "What?" "About the monstrous Haruno-san." "I don't know anyone by that name." "She does nothing but talk about you all the time. Strange that you can't remember someone who seems so close to you." Sasuke didn't answer, so Sai continued. "Our mission was to be her backup for when you went to see her. It was a cover for me to leave the village after the Hokage assigned your Kakashi-sensei to keep watch on me. I'm sure my absence has been noticed by now. Are you not going to go to her?" "And why would I do that? Like you said, it was just a cover for you to get here." Sai's expression never changed. "I don't believe Orochimaru knows of this meeting. You're trying to keep the information from me so it doesn't leak out to him." "I thought you were going to kill me." "Haha, the truth is I am going against my orders because I want to know." He paused. "If this bond she's always speaking of is really worth protecting. You see, I think she is a key for me to find the feelings I lost." "You're a fool." "Yes, I suppose I am." "Get out." Sakura waited on the edge of the valley, looking down at the waters crashing below. It was almost time. "Sakura."